Number one, we didn't get it. Oh, he's about to say polling data. Hold on. Oh, okay. One more load coming. Number one, 75%. 75. Oh, he might not say that. Sorry.
Option polls at over 70%.
I just come again. I'm sorry. What does public polling data do to pass bills, Cenk?
How are you, Cenk? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
My name's Oliver.
Hey, Oliver.
Yeah. So I guess the first place I want to start off with your claim is to first say that I think there's a grain of truth in it. And I think I would largely agree that when it comes to the system of neoliberalism, the system of capitalism, I think there can be a lot of overlap. I think where I would probably push back a little bit is when we look specifically at what policy issues get passed and how they affect people, there seems to be a very big difference. So for example, under the Biden administration, we saw with the expansion of the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid, we saw over 8 million people become eligible for Medicaid who were previously not eligible. If we contrast that right now with what's in Trump's big, beautiful bill, over a 10-year period, that would make between 15 and 16 million people ineligible for Medicaid. So it seems on a crucial economic issue that affects people's ability to, survive, have quality health care, live quality lives. There seems to be a stark contrast. So I'm just wondering, your thoughts on that.
So where I would disagree is the word stark. So I understand there is a contrast. That's why I vote Democrat. Mm-hmm. But these are giant buts here. So first of all, they say on Medicare, we should negotiate drug prices. The Democrats say, and then they never deliver. They didn't even try to negotiate drug prices other than on insulin and maybe 10 other drugs. And you go, well, that's pretty good. No, that's 10 drugs out of tens of thousands of drugs. At a maximum, it's only a $6 billion savings, when in reality, what we actually would do if we negotiated the drug prices is several $100 billion in savings. So what I'm saying to you is, while the Democrats do some things that are positive, they do it almost as a release valve. So they go, okay, here's another example that you mentioned, the Affordable Care Act. You know what it was called before it was called Obamacare?
You can enlighten me.
Yeah.
Romney was a plan that was tried in a Republican state.
Exactly. It was called Romney Care.
Yeah.
And you know who came up with it? The Heritage Foundation, the same people who came up with Project 2025.
Okay.
That is a corporate release valve so that people don't build up too much pressure and go to a rebellion or a revolution. But in the bottom line is, that was a tiny, tiny little fix thought of by a right-wing think tank. And then now when you say negotiate drug prices, Obama never did it, even though he ran an ad called Billy where he said he was going to do it. Biden does at most 6% of it. The Democrats are constantly doing 5 to 10% as a little release valve, but keep the machine going exactly as it is.
And we can totally agree that there should be more that's done. I guess maybe I was taking your claim too literally, which is that Democrats and Republicans agree on economic issues. And maybe there's a qualify in there. Is it largely agree? Is it mainly agree?
It's definitely large. Yeah,
okay.
It's not 100% agree. Otherwise, it would be too obvious. But is it true that they largely agree? Of course. So I'll give you many other examples. Paid family leaves at 84%. Yet the Democrats never seem to be able to pass it. Why do they never pass it? Because they're not trying. They said they'd do the public option. Joe Biden didn't even announce introduce the public option. Why? Because they agree with Republicans.
Well, I don't think they agree with Republicans necessarily. I just think that sometimes it's hard to pass.
I just want to say that the political analysis is like a combination of retarded high schooler and incredibly privileged person who doesn't have any expenses in the United States, who does politics recreationally, right? To say that like the Biden administration didn't negotiate any drugs down, except for like a few ones like insulin. I'm pretty sure like type 2 diabetics are probably one of the largest groups of people that buy drugs in the United States, is my guess. I don't know what the other 9 drugs are that were negotiated down, but like what a fucking retarded statement to make, like imagine saying that like imagine being a rich guy that goes into a room and it's like, this is worthless, so they made gas free, I guess, but like how much does anybody actually spend on just like gassing up their car compared to like like how much we spend maintaining our yachts or whatever. It's like what do you like, Jesus Christ, like if it's not everything, you get nothing. Well, it's such a stupid point. And then when he just said here, why didn't Biden introduce a public option in the 50-50 Senate? Do you understand that they just won an election 4 years earlier on repealing and replacing all of the ACA, right? Like, what a fucking stupid, that's just a retarded high schooler thing to bring up. What are you talking about? Hello?
Legislation in a bitterly divided Congress. Would you acknowledge that it's difficult very often?
Oh, and it's not difficult. Oh my God. Hold on. Oh God, I'm about to come. Hold on. I'm trying to think of what I need him to say when he comes. Is it going to be donor class? Or is it going to be...
to pass legislation.
Or bully pulpit. Donor class or bully pulpit? Don't. Either one will get me off, please.
In a bitterly divided Congress, would you acknowledge that it's difficult very often in order to get things done? You don't.
Please.
You don't.
No,
You don't
see,
think
that is
so.
the number one excuse Democrats use.
Okay.
Oh, golly, gee, there was nothing we could do. And they're saying, no, there was nothing we could do. There was nothing we could do.
Pulpit.
In reality,
Pulpit.
He didn't even try for the public option, Biden. He didn't introduce it.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, hold on. You guys might not remember this. Oh my God, there was this cringe idea that retards like Jimmy Dore and were pushing, called force the vote. And the idea is, what if we introduce a piece of legislation that we know has absolutely no chance of success, and then we put it on the floor and we force a vote on it so that it could fail? Wouldn't that be epic? Because then what would happen is every single American would look at all the people that voted it down, and they would vote those people out of office because every American wants healthcare for all, Medicare for all so bad. Wouldn't that just be epic? I didn't know people still talked about this force the vote thing. Was so cringe.
So that polls at over 70%. Why not try?
Sure.
$15 minimum wage. The Republicans didn't take that out of the bill. Joe Biden took it out of the bill. You see those things where you can...
Yes, the Republicans were just about to sign on to a $15 minimum wage, and then Biden nuked it.
Tell intent, and the intent is he actually agrees with the donor class and the Republicans.
Yes!
He doesn't
Coming,
want
coming,
those things.
coming.
And brother, if you can't pass a bill at 84%, then are you saying the Democrats are the most incompetent politicians in history?
I'm not saying they're the most incompetent party, and I'm also not saying they're perfect. I think that we risk running into an issue where we equate the two parties.
Like, do you see how the conversation is to even start it here? Like, we're not having a real conversation about politics now. Now we're in like Cenk's playland. This is no longer a real talk on politics.
As being virtually the same, which leads people to not voting whatsoever at all because they think the whole class is against them. And I'm in complete agreement with you that the two-party system is fundamentally broken, and the Democrats, in a lot of ways, have.
Why grant anything to this guy? This is the equivalent to arguing with a dude about how like Biden can't be trusted to be president again because if you watched. Hunter x Hunter, they put nuclear bombs in old guys sometimes, and there was no guarantee that Biden wouldn't have exploded and killed everybody in the White House. Would you even start there? Like, would you start like, okay, maybe he has a nuclear bomb, but like we should consider you wouldn't even start the conversation there? This is such a brain rot starting point. I don't even know what are we watching? God, I hate this. I hate all this.
A lot of the same issues. I guess what I predominantly have an issue with is those who maybe don't take the time to have nuance in the discussion and just say, oh, they agree on economic issues. I don't like
this word nuance either anymore. It's like a red flag word where like it's a good thing, but it's like an aesthetic, like the nuance. What does the nuance mean? It's like, can we just get rid of the retarded people? Like, what is...
They only want to divide us on cultural issues.
Brother, so
I think
here's
that
the difference.
It's important to make that, because otherwise people stay home. They don't vote, and then we're in the situation that we're in right now when a lot of people don't end up voting.
No, but Oliver, so let me tell you my perspective on it. That's really important.
Okay.
So Democrats always say, hey, look, there's a 5 to 10% difference, so you should vote for us.
Okay.
But they don't quite say it that way. You understand that. I understand that.
Sure.
A lot of people here understand that. But
marketing is a thing. And we can agree marketing is a thing.
No, but hold on. This is super important.
Okay.
But they tell the voters, we're going to make a big difference. We're going to do minimum wage. We're going to do public option. We're going to do paid family leave.
Yes.
And when they don't, people get disappointed, and that leads them to not voting.
Those are your pie in the sky claims. Those are like the grand things that you fight for. The Republicans don't get any of the grand shit that they fight for either, but for some reason, those people still show up to vote, don't they? What's the difference?
That leads them to hating the Democratic Party.
Sure.
What I'm saying is go with populist left. That is the one thing that has not been tried.
Sure.
Populist left is even more pie in the sky, bro. These people don't have election wins anywhere. How do you think the Tea Party got power in the Republican Party? The Freedom Caucus and these people existed in Congress. They were winning seats. They won elections. Where do you think Trump came from? He won the elections. You want to talk about quote unquote rigged primaries against Bernie Sanders? Bro, the entire Republican establishment hated Donald Trump, and he still won the primaries. It's not the same.
Actually do the bills. We do the bills.
Okay.
Otherwise, then you're the same as the Republicans.
Okay, fair enough. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Oliver.
Hey, Cenk. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Great to be speaking with you. I agree with your overall term here. I would say that at the end goal, they agree that economically we all want the same things, right? But the way we get it is two completely different economical viewpoints. We have the left that tends to be more socialist and communist, and we have the right that is more crony capitalist.
Okay.
The left wants to take your taxes and they want to distribute it the way they want.
Yeah.
The right wants you to keep your taxes right now. They want you to keep your overtime taxes. They want you to keep your taxes on tips. So
Yeah.
It's so fucking retarded where he's laughing because he's like, I wish the left were socialist and communist. The Republicans think that the left is socialist and communist because the left wants the government to do more stuff. Cenk is laughing because he doesn't think that the left is socialist and communist, not because he wants actual socialism and communism, but because he also thinks that socialism is when the government does more stuff, but he thinks that the left doesn't want the government to do more stuff. This is like so fucking retarded, right? This is so fucking retarded. This is so retarded. Do you understand? The Republican here is saying that the left are all socialists because they want the government to spend more. That's not what socialism is. Cenk is laughing because he wants his version of socialism, which is the government doing more stuff, which is what he's accusing all the... But Cenk is laughing because he thinks that the left, the Democrats, don't want the government to do more stuff. This is so retarded. This whole conversation is so retarded. I hate all of this.
Yeah.
what is your...
Yeah. So first of all, brother, you got to stop saying socialism and communism. None of the
Why is that?
Because none of the Democratic politicians are in favor of that. They're actually
They are. Bernie's quite literally socialist.
No. So he says he's a democratic socialist. Even he doesn't really go towards what you would consider socialism because you're putting socialism and communism in the same bucket where they don't belong. None of them are in favor of ending corporations, ending capital, etc. In fact, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, their number one problem
Yeah, it's just when the government does more stuff.
is that they're corporatists, not that they're socialists or communists.
No, they quite
they
literally
will
wanted
do.
to
They will do
end-
whatever corporate donors tell them.
Oh,
to do.
the
wanted to
donors!
end the
Opposite
businesses over
of
vaccine
communism.
mandates.
Yeah,
That was,
no, brother.
Yeah, no.
No, but that's drug companies. They're doing the exact opposite of communism. They're saying corporate donors, we will do whatever you corporations want. So when you turn to the Republicans, it's the same thing as Oliver. They have a 5 to 10% release valve with Donald Trump now. He's pretending to be a populist. So he goes, oh my God.
Donald Trump isn't
even
pretending.
though-
He is a populist.
Well, look at
He just won the popular vote. Both left and right moved in his direction.
No. Hold on. So when you talk about that bill, the budget bill, that is not big or beautiful. Well, it is big, but it's definitely not beautiful.
Sure.
The majority of the tax cuts go, of course, as always, to the rich, right?
Right.
But they put in a tiny release valve of, we'll
no
help the
tax
middle
on
class
tips,
a little bit on tips and overtime. Whether that even
Well, then
stays
how
in the
come
bill is a different question.
How come every
But
time
what
a
are they doing?
Republican's
Here,
in
let me tell you a
office,
fact.
I make
Bo,
more
can I
money
tell
and I
you a
spend less
fact?
on taxes?
Yeah, no.
These microphones need shock mounts. They don't have shock mounts, and these are not internally mounted mics. That's why you're hearing it every time he bangs the desk.
I'll tell you a fact. So what they do is they throw a little morsel at you, as Obama and Biden throw a little morsel on you for social policies, as
Sure.
we discussed earlier. But the overwhelming majority always goes to rich. For example, in this bill, they're cutting Medicaid and SNAP by $1.1 trillion. Do you know how much is going to people making above $500,000 a year in tax cuts? $1.1 trillion. Okay? So they're literally taking from the poorest people and giving it to the richest people.
Which is what the liberals have been doing forever. So what's the difference?
How are they doing? So no, brother, what I'm saying is you're actually proving my point. Democrats and Republicans constantly say that they have giant differences. Then what did the Republicans do? They do massive tax cuts for the rich. And then Obama, by the way, came in and actually made Bush's tax cuts permanent, which cost us even more than the original Bush tax cuts did. So there's a lot of theater about how they disagree. But at the end of the day, the rich always get tax cuts.
Save
Corporations
more money
always
when
get rich.
Republicans are in office? Why do me as a business owner continue to save money?
So you know why? So I'm a small business owner.
Sure.
So we save a little bit of money. The giant corporations save a ton of money.
Isn't it better
They
if
always
everybody
throw-
saves money?
No, it's not. Because,
Why not?
brother, then
That
you
makes
can-
no sense.
No, brother, it's easy to say, okay, then we shouldn't have any roads, bridges, cops, fire departments,
Nobody's
schools.
saying that. We just
No,
don't
you
want
are
our money
saying that
going
when
to
you say there's we shouldn't have any taxes.
We just don't want our money going to foreign countries.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
On drag events.
And by the way,
so-
that's another thing that proves my point. Republicans and Democrats always do whatever AIPAC tells them. So that is a foreign
That's a
government.
whole different argument.
No, it's not an
I would-
argument.
I'm at least glad they labeled Cenk here as a populist. I'm okay with that. Cenk can have whatever political views he wants, as long as these people actually formally eject themselves from the Democratic establishment and they don't call themselves Democrats or pretend to be anything related to Democrats. I'm okay with that.
But it's the
agree,
same
so-
argument. It's the donor class.
Thank you, Cenk.
Yeah.
Oh, donor class, I come.
Hey man, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So when you talk about this concept of a release valve, it seems like you're downplaying very relevant and very important differences that
Yup. You call it a release valve, but for people that aren't wealthy business owners that live in California as multimillionaires, some of these things are actually pretty important.
exists between the parties. So the Affordable Care Act, you understand that that expanded coverage to like millions of people. More people got Medicaid, premiums were subsidized. Like, this is good policy. And I agree with you. Sometimes, in many cases, Democrats lack a spine. They don't push hard enough. But I think chalking that up to like, they're pretty much the same, there's just a little release valve difference is a little bit reductive.
Yeah, it's not at all reductive in the Affordable.
It's also crazy because I'm pretty sure they could have just EQ'd away the, I don't know where these booms are going to be at, but
Care Act is a
probably down
perfect
there, right?
example of it. So you're right. It was better than the previous system because the previous system had pre-existing conditions and you can get blocked for that, and the American people despise that. So it needed to be changed. Yeah. That is part of the reason why a right-wing think tank, Heritage Foundation, came up with Romney Care. It's a release valve, and it's a Republican idea that Mitt Romney...
Also, this is one of the shittiest talking points ever because technically the ACA being passed like this as having been a state experiment first is actually, okay, this is like America at its best, ideally, okay? At its best is we have 50 individual states. They can all try their own shit if they really want to. And if something really works well in a state, then maybe we try it at the federal level. That's like, technically, that's like federalism at its best. Is 50 different not micro-governments, macro, these are huge governments. 50 different state governments can all try things on their own. And if some things really work really well, then maybe we try it out at the federal level. That's great. You can't just shit on the ACA because it was a Republican plan or came from a Republican state. That's not substantive. You're not actually, that's almost definitionally, that's like an ad hominem in a way. You're like insulting the plan's characteristics because it's Republican. That means it's bad. That's like, would you prefer we didn't have it at all, or?
Took it and passed it in Massachusetts. That's why it's called Romney Care. Then Obama and Romney ran a campaign where they pretended to be on exact opposite ends of the spectrum with the same exact health care plan. Literally the same exact health care plan.
Do you think the ACA is like a right-wing health?
Oh, good question. Good question, but not the appropriate question. Here's what you really need to ask these fuckers to put them in their place, okay? To make sure that we understand that these guys are not our friends, they're not with us. What you should ask is, if Obama had the votes in the Senate, if he actually had the votes to have a public option, do you think he would have? Or do you think he would have blocked it and vetoed it on his own? Because Cenk will say he would have vetoed it. Cenk will say that. Cenk will say the donor class and the corporate interest would have told Obama or pressured him into vetoing it. You should ask them to be big on that. Because remember, for these guys like Cenk and Anna, Cenk and Anna don't think that the Democrats are incompetent. They think they're malicious. When they bring up the donor class, they're not bringing that up to say that, the Democrats are lost and confused sometimes. They're saying that the Democrats are explicitly blocking stuff or using it as a release valve intentionally with malicious intent just to appease the lowly proletariat dipshit or whatever, to avoid giving us what we really want.
Insurance plan?
It was literally created by a right-wing think tank,
the
Heritage
Republicans
Foundation.
right now in Congress.
He asked a good question, and Cenk avoided it again.
Exact healthcare plan. Literally the same exact healthcare plan.
Do you think the ACA is like a right-wing health insurance plan?
It was literally created by a right-wing think tank,
the
Heritage
Republicans
Foundation.
right now in Congress are trying to push a reconciliation bill that literally guts Medicaid when the...
Yeah, that the Republicans came in on repeal and replace. He should ask him. Well, this guy might... Jesus, I'm remembering the years. If this guy's like 22, then repeal and replace Obamacare would have been a thing from when he was 13 years old. So he might legitimately not remember it. You have to actually do like history reading, I guess. But why would the Republicans run in 2016 on repealing and replacing a Republican healthcare plan, Cenk? Why would they do that?
The ACA expanded Medicaid.
Yes. So they always move the goalposts. So what do? They bring in, okay, here's our release valve. Okay, now the American people are still mad. Of course they are. Here, let's talk about the next steps that happened. Obama said, oh, yeah, we might do the public option, which would have been not universal health care, but a good step forward.
Right.
I was there. Young Turk's been around forever. And I was like, yes, you got to do the public option. Then Obama says publicly, oh, I guess we can't do the public option. Wink.
Well,
and they immediately took...
I hope he gets to ask him. Do you think that if Obama had the votes for it, he would have killed it on his own?
Out of the bill.
Right?
What's that?
That's because of Joe Lieberman, right? But 59 other Democrats would have voted for the public option.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's what the donor class wants you to think, bro. The Mossad's already incepted your mind.
Talking about. So that they always they always have an excuse. So right now,
they always have an excuse, like not having enough votes in Congress. Oh my God. Would you ever debate Cenk one-on-one? Yeah, of course. I would debate any of these people one-on-one. I have debated Cenk a few times, but I think it's because he accepted other ones and didn't know I would be there. But yeah, it always just ends with him screaming at me. You just want to kill all the kids. You just want to all die. That's on the Israel-Palestine.
Under Biden, the excuse was, oh, we don't have enough senators. Oh, golly, gee.
That's how you pass
hold
laws,
on.
though.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works, buddy.
Filibuster and the parliamentarian, and then under Obama they had 60. They could pass anything they wanted. They're like, let's take a really, really long time with Romney care. Oh, oops, we ran out of our 60. Things changed. Okay, now the Republicans are ignoring the parliamentarian when they're trying to pass this bill. So the Democrats keep finding excuses. Why did they take the public option out of the bill?
You think Obama
Why did they
didn't
never
want the
introduce
public option?
Oh, thank you, and he got there. Who is this guy? Who the f is this guy? Yes, he got there. He's asked all the right questions. My king, my hero. Oh, sorry, not king, my sultan. Whatever his culture is. I'm respecting it, okay?
You think Obama
Why did they
didn't
never
want the
introduce the
public
public option back again? I don't think the Democrats want the public option at all.
When 59 senators said we'll vote yes on this, and Lieberman
That's
tanked
what I'm
that.
trying to
That's what they want you to think, bro. You're just incepted by the donor class. You're just incepted by the donor class, bro. They're just saying that. That's a meme.
tell your brother they don't mean it. So let me give you two examples.
Where are you getting that from?
Where am I getting it from?
If
Joe,
Lieberman
where am I
agreed, would we
getting
not
it
have
from?
gotten a
Number
public
one.
option?
Number one, we didn't get it. Oh, he's about to say polling data. Hold on. Oh, okay. One more load coming. Number one, 75%. 75. Oh, he might not say that. Sorry.
Option polls at over 70%.
I just come together. I'm sorry. What does public polling data do to pass bills, Cenk? We don't pass legislation in this country like we're Switzerland. We don't do a public poll on it to figure it out. Come on.
Didn't even try to pass it.
Sure, but with
Number two,
healthcare
when
policy-
Biden came into office, said he was going to do public option,
Yeah.
and then he lied, and he never.
He lied with 50, barely, maybe, depending on the day of the week. 50 senators. Come on.
once introduced
had,
it.
like, no
If he never
political
once
capital
introduced
compared
it-
to Obama.
Oh, now they don't have political capital. Golly gee,
These are
Congress.
Oh my God, bro.
Realities of how you pass
oh my God,
legislation.
I can't. The voters
It's
are
not, I
sick
can't.
of I can.
It's not,
Why
I
don't you
can't.
actually
Then go fucking vote. Why don't you actually fucking vote? You go vote enough people into Congress. Let's see what 60 senators or 61 or 62 senators or 51, I guess now, since we just fucking filibuster at this point, fuck it, which I'm in favor of, I guess. The Republicans, right? Go put enough people, go put enough damn asses in Senate seats and see what we can fucking do.
try.
It's more
so tell me
difficult.
why they're such losers. They
It's
can't
more-
pass paid family leave at
Listen,
84%.
I
Are they
agree with you
losers,
on
or do they
policy.
actually secretly agree with the Republicans
Cenk.
and they don't want any of this because they're
Unhinged.
I agree with you on policy. I want paid family leave. I want single payer health care. But this is not like super easy to pass. You're like, if they just all
Yes,
hold
it
their
is.
hand and
I
sing
can get it passed in
Kumbaya,
2 weeks.
we're going to get like
2
single
weeks.
payer.
2 weeks, what? Mother, your Justice Dems died in 2 weeks. You guys got 4 people in the House, and then your whole org died. What do you mean you could do whatever you want? Legislate? Come on.
Super easy to pass. You're like, if they just all
Yes,
hold
it
their hand
is.
and
I
sing
can get it passed in
Kumbaya,
2 weeks.
we're going to get like
2
single
weeks.
payer.
Okay, so here's how you do it. Guys, you see, you've been taught by mainstream media and Democratic politicians
Oh, it's
to
Z.
accept failure.
All the familiar faces are coming together
Oh my God, there's
to trigger the fuck out of Cenk.
nothing we can do to pass it. There's nothing. Here's how what you
you
do.
can pass it,
Here's,
but it's
super
difficult.
easy.
It's not
listen,
easy.
listen. Paid family leave is at 84. Why do I keep insisting on that? Because here's what you would do. You would introduce it, 74% of Republican voters want it. And then you would say, I dare you to vote against it. If you vote against it, you're voting against 84% of Americans and you will lose your next election.
Oh my! So these are, remember, if you're ever having difficulty figuring out like what is going on in the progressive populist mind, what's going on is they secretly think everybody supports their policies. They just like need to be shown it, or we just have to force a vote on it, right? Like this is the actual retardation of like we just force them to vote on our ultra progressive platform. Well, if they vote no, they're gonna get primaried and they're gonna lose all their races. Like.
Or it
I will
nominally.
campaign against you. I will find a Republican to campaign against you.
No.
And then, but you
Like, imagine this even from a shrewd donor class perspective, right? Let's say that what he's saying is true, and let's say that AIPAC and the Jews and the monsters and the donor classes, let's say that these all do exist. What would you do if you were a donor class? I'd be like, holy shit, donor class. I just got a sick fucking idea. Why don't we just like force the vote and get all those other motherfuckers kicked out? And then we could go and donor class our own, like pro Medicaid for all or whatever the fuck people in, and then just give them like a public option. Like, wouldn't that be the shrewd donor class AIPAC Jew conspiracy to do? Wouldn't you do that next?
say, no, God, don't
no.
even try. Don't
These-
even
these
try.
policies-
Oh, we have these giant
Hold on, hold on.
differences, but we never pass our bills.
say
We never
Republicans-
even try.
Hold on.
And who took out $15 minimum wage? Joe Biden took out $15 minimum wage. So they never
say-
mean it, brother. When is it going to get through
Hold
to you
on.
that they
You
don't pass
say
it
that
for?
When is it going to get through to you that I'm Oh, it's just not clocking that Cenk is standing on business. It's just not clocking.
You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you. It's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business, is it?
Republicans agree with us. They agree nominally. I'll give you a great example of this. If you poll Republicans, should we cut Medicaid? They say no. When Medicaid's actually cut and you poll them, they're just cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. So like nominally, yes, everyone agrees universal health care is good. When you get into the nitty gritty of actual policy, it gets a lot more complicated. I agree. Democrats should fight much harder, use the bully pulpit, campaign on these issues.
You shouldn't grant it this much. It's like Ethan Klein and ContraPoint saying like, listen, guys, okay, it is a genocide, but okay, also an A on Bernie Sanders. Now, I don't know if it's because Bernie's got that Jew dog in him, okay? I mean dog respectfully and not anti-Semitically. But even Bernie Sanders won't call it a genocide, okay? Base, Bernie. And he shouldn't, because you know why? Even if you think it's fucked up and bad, which it, especially now it seems like it is, it's not like you get any points from the other side for conceding that. So why don't? Because there's no point in conceding it. You can say things are bad without them being a genocide. There are plenty of bad things on this planet that aren't a genocide. And it's just pointless.
But the idea that they're willfully, purposefully sabotaging themselves, some of them sure, but this is not as easy as you're painting it out to be.
Okay, so number one, on minimum wage, we at the Young Turks fought for Bernie to put it back in and at least get a vote. Okay, it got a vote. And guess what happened? The 8 Democratic senators who were pretending to be in favor of it all of a sudden voted with the Republicans. They had
Oh, so then did they all lose their next primaries and get voted out if they forced the vote on that 15? What happened? What were the electoral? Did they all lose and got replaced by more progressive Dems? Cenk, is that what happened?
more than enough to block it because the Democrats don't mean it. They always do rotating villains. So, brother, at what point are you going to say the failure is on purpose and not, golly gee, they're the Washington Generals against the Harlem Globetrotters?
Like, it's obviously not clocking to this guy. Cenk is trying to clock him, and he's not. It's not clocking.
When you have slim majorities, paradigm-shifting policy is just harder to pass.
But 60 is not a slim majority. You constantly make excuses. Obama had 60,
minimum wage,
and he still didn't do it. If they could have 80.
You're president in 2028, and you have a majority in the Senate and House. What policies are you pushing to be passed? The very first thing that I would do is I would put together a special committee to find the top 10 most powerful prosecutors with a successful track record in the entire planet. I would get all 10 of those people in the United States and give them citizenship if needed, if they're not from the US. And then I would put together 10 special counsels, and they would divide amongst themselves all of the prior Republican elected politicians and anybody even remotely associated with Trump's cabinet. And they would spend the next 2 years crawling through their life. And these prosecutors would never, ever, ever, ever need to cite the law or cite legality when they're going after the Republicans. They would exclusively cite to things that Republicans did to Democrats during their investigations. So that means that if they want to build some probable cause, some grand jury indictment off of something written in a memoir, they would never put in a request to a judge anything citing prior case law. They would just put something about how, oh, remember for Hunter Biden, how they looked through his memoir to establish that he, was on drugs and bought a gun at the same time. That would be the standardized, and that'd basically be the only thing I would do. And then once all the courts ran their shit, I would just leave. I don't give a fuck at that point. Have fun.
Still find an excuse.
The ACA was massive legislation that he got with 60.
Yes,
60
beautiful
votes.
Romney Care from Heritage Foundation.
Listen to this privileged piece of shit. Well, I didn't Romney Care. Well, it sucked because it wasn't my perfect policy. Well, it was my perfect thing. Oh, it sucked. It sucked. It wasn't fun.
Nice meeting you, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
How are you?
Hey there.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So you raised a very interesting point when you said that Democrats and Republicans agree essentially on the same issues and that they want to distract us with culture wars. The question.
Also, new executive order would go out. Executive order that as long as you vote for a Democrat, or as long as you're a registered Democrat in your state, you automatically get a federal pardon for all federal crimes, past, present, and future, at the end of my 4 years. That would also be the next thing I would do.
Democrats and Republicans agree essentially on the same issues and that they want to distract us with culture wars. The question that I would raise is, why are culture wars a distraction when they are such a vital issue It's important to myself as a conservative, and I'm quite certain to every Democrat in this room. Issues like abortion, social justice, or things that affect us in ways that maybe some policies only benefit the rich. Why should we not focus on things that benefit Americans every day and that could affect women's bodies or gay people's right to get married or maintain the right?
Yeah. So I'm not saying that social issues are not important. That's why I vote Democrat instead
sorry. One other thing that I would do is I would, every single day, if there is like, this is too edgy, never mind. I would do things to make sure that that immunity ruling that the president has from committing crimes, that everybody would want that to go away. That would also be a thing I would do. I'll just say that much.
Republican, because I believe women should have the right to an abortion and many of the other things that are on the left, okay? But at the same time, when you talk about trans sports, for example, do you know how many trans athletes there are in the NCAAs?
No, I don't.
10 out of 500,000 athletes. Okay. So for 10 people, we had this giant debate, and the far right were like, no, that's it. This is what the Democratic Party is all about. And the far left was like, yes, that is all we're about. And this is about vulnerable communities, and you have to protect them. So this is the hill we're going to die on. And we're going to talk about this nonstop, okay? But meanwhile, we're getting robbed every single administration. Trillions of dollars in tax cuts under Republicans and under Obama. Tax cut after tax cut for rich, for the corporations, deregulation after deregulation. You know why they want to split us? They want you to fight left and right. They want you to look left and right. They don't want you to look up, okay?
Well, of course, having to look up is very vital, okay? My master always tells us to look up. That's why I wear the cross. But the point that I'm making is that social issues, in order to really...
I'm so sorry. Maybe it's just a Catholic thing. I don't know if I've ever heard of God referred to as the Master. Master, my Lord, Lord Jesus Christ, Lord God, ruler in heaven, King, maybe Master? Old Testament? The Master, maybe like the guy, like a human. God is the Master? Okay, I don't know. All right, just curious.
Wouldn't it make sense with the cross? But the point that I'm making is that social issues, in order to really, wouldn't it make sense to effectively mobilize people? You should start with things that can touch them every single day. Social issues impact children, women, men, all of us across all ages and across all ideologies. Shouldn't it be for the American population, whose average attention span is maybe 43 to 56 seconds at best, to influence them politically? Wouldn't it be best to start with something like a social issue that would then raise their awareness to issues?
He's making a slave joke? I guess, right. Well, but he's like a super religious guy, isn't he? It just seems like a weird, I don't know what the point of it, I don't know. Maybe, okay. Also, yeah, this is the guy that I debated for the migrant thing.
Issues dealing with the rich and issues dealing with taxes? Why not?
Because that splits us. It splits us on purpose. Those don't unify. I say the exact opposite. Why don't you start on bills we all agree on that have over 70% popularity, like getting money out of politics, anti-war, lowering drug prices through Medicare. Instead, you get to social issues. Here, I'm from a vulnerable community. I'm from a Muslim background, right? But if I told Democrats, I want you to focus only on Muslim rights, that'd be mental. Don't do that. I'm not saying don't care about Muslim rights. I want you to care about that. I want everyone to have 100% same rights.
What I'm saying is, why
build credibility by actually delivering for all of the American people. We raised all of your wages. We brought down drug prices for everyone, for Republicans and Democrats.
But by your logic, that could undermine certain things, like going back in history for a second here, the civil rights movement, things like that, which were inherently social and economic issues in combination. Why not? My question is, why not work with both of those issues side by side? Why are you deliberately attempting to prioritize one over the other?
No. So what I'm saying to you, brother, is two things. Number one, you can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Of course.
So you don't have to give up Muslim rights. You don't have to give up civil rights. You don't have to stop worrying about that, et cetera. You can fight on that, but don't forget, you're not supposed to hate the other side. They want you to hate the other side. Stop hating the other side. Fight on the issues you don't agree on. And then on the things you do agree on, stop listening to establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats that divide you so that you never realize, hey, why are most of the tax cuts going to the rich? Why are corporations getting every break? Why is it that in every bill, all the subsidies go to oil companies, banks, et cetera?
Well, that's largely due to the fact...
So why don't we unite on the things we agree on first?
by your own logic, that does a disservice to the fact that many, well, it doesn't do a disservice. It acknowledges the fact that as you still vote Democrat, you are still in essence supporting the very systems that you're at the same time talking about tearing down. So it's a lot of double talk, is it not?
No, what I do
You
is
can't vote Democrat and then say that, well, because they still support the rich and the rich still get all the tax cuts, I'm still going to cast my vote, which is the most powerful political weapon you have, to the very establishment that you're on one hand trying to tear down. That's nonsense.
That's why primaries are critical. If I want one thing for you guys all to think about is, must vote in your primaries, because the mainstream media doesn't want you voting in the primaries, because that's where you can make real change. So that's why they love it when you go, oh, well, if you don't vote for a Democrat, Trump's going to be in office and Trump's the boogeyman, and the Republicans will say likewise, right? So go vote in your primaries so you don't have to worry about Democrats or Republicans. You're still in the same party. But get rid of the bums who are for corporate donors, who always serve donors, and get people that you love on both economic issues and social issues. You don't have to give up one,
Donors.
but you have to insist on them representing you and not the donor class.
Very great conversation, brother.
Thank you,
Great
brother.
conversation.
Hello.
Hey,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, I'm not going to disagree with you that in every case, Democrats don't go after the most radical economic policy. One example that I've
Not
heard,
radical. They all poll over 70%.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I'm a Democrat myself. I agree with a lot of what you say. One
Yes, this is Shane in chat. Thank you.
example
Better do us proud.
of what you said before is that Joe Biden wanted to cut the corporate or raise the corporate income tax to 28% instead of back to 35%. However, I think that one point to consider would be the fact that a lot of the times Democrats are having to clean up the mess that Republicans made. And when someone like Joe Biden only has 2 years of adequate Senate support, right, it's very difficult to argue that he should be pursuing farther left tactics when we're just trying to get a reconciliation bill passed that can be supported by Joe Manchin, right? The economy was completely destroyed in 2020 after COVID. It was completely destroyed in 2007 after Obama. So there has to be a little give there.
So on economic issues, what I'm telling you, brother, is that they're playing good cop, bad cop. On you, on all of us, okay?
Oh, I like how he just totally didn't respond to any of that, and he's just going to repeat the same talking points. Thank you. Good one.
So the tax cuts is a perfect example. So you're right. Donald Trump takes it from 35 to 21. It's a massive corporate tax cut. That's on Trump. That's on the Republicans. Then Joe Biden says, well, I'm going to fight that. And he gets a lot of votes to go fight that. And he says, I'm going to bring it back up to 28%. I'm like, wait, it was at 35. So already he's conceding, yeah, I love corporate corporate tax cuts.
Yeah.
Hold on. Then he says, oh, well, Joe Manchin wants to make it 25. So
Keep in mind that Biden is looking at a tax rate increase at a time when the entire world is trying to recover from, like, COVID, after the government had paid out an unbelievable amount of stimulus and everything to keep things running. Like, it's just not the same. It's not the same world. Trump came in when everything was fine, and he did these stupid fucking tax cuts.
golly gee, I don't have a choice, 25. Then did he fight for 25? No, he never introduced it. Never fought for 25. So you tell me, Joe Biden had 4 years and never introduced it. So golly gee, I don't have a choice, 25. Then did he fight for 25? No, he never introduced it. Never fought for 25. So you tell me, Joe Biden had 4 years and kept it at 21% and never even tried.
Well, realistically, he had 2 years to get a bill passed. It's the truth. At the end of the day, right, if Joe Manchin sticks it somewhere and he says, well, okay, maybe I'll let you have an expansion of the child tax credit, for example, if you keep it at 21. We don't know all the backdoor negotiations that happened between Joe Biden and Joe Manchin. At the end of the day, right, you can't have everything you want, whether you're Joe Manchin or Joe Biden.
Did you ever consider that they don't mean it? The reason that Joe Biden never tried to raise corporate taxes is because he doesn't want corporate taxes to go up. It was all a trick. It was all a game played on all of us.
No, I don't buy it.
No, I know. There was nothing they could do. That's why they didn't even bother trying.
Like, if all of this is a game, and all of it is just false bravado, and all of this is just to trick us while the donor class controls everything, why do they even need a pressure release valve at all? Can't they just keep putting their own people in office over and over again and never pressure release at all? Or does he think that we're going to have, like, revolt?
They never bothered trying on any of this, and you keep insisting,
Look.
well, good enough. I'll take my 5% change. Thank you, sir. May I have another, sir? So please, for God's sake, wake up and
Yeah, I disagree
unite
with
to
you.
actually get economic policies that we love. The whole country wants.
You can say
except
that,
those corrupt
but
politicians.
in West Virginia, Kamala Harris lost by 30 points, okay? If you put someone that is to the left of Kamala Harris on any economic issue, they're going to lose by that same margin.
You're totally wrong. Do you know
Really?
what percentage of Americans want to not cut taxes on the rich, but
Not only is he not wrong, they tried to primary Manchin and they got ruined. Manchin destroyed the person that they put up against him in that Democratic primary. So not only is Cenk completely wrong, Cenk is arguing politics. Admittedly, I used to do this because I just didn't know much about politics, but arguing like somebody who just doesn't know anything and is retreating from the point about West Virginia, a very particular place with a very particular set of legislators, and now he's going to talk about public polling across the entire country. It doesn't matter. We don't vote for senators and representatives on polls, and we certainly don't vote for West Virginia's senators based on public polling. It's a child point, amateur idiot point to bring up.
I'm going to lose by that same margin.
You're totally wrong. Do you know
Really?
what percentage of Americans want to not cut taxes on the rich, but raise taxes
Probably
on the rich?
all of them when you ask it that way.
No. What do you mean? On television, they constantly say, oh, cutting taxes is popular. Raising taxes is very unpopular. That's not true. Raising taxes on the rich polls at 76%. You would win West Virginia. You would win Kentucky if you ran on populist campaign. If you said, yes, I'm going to raise taxes on the rich. Yes, I'm going to give you lower drug prices. Yes, I'm going to give you higher wages. But the Democrats don't say that. They say, oh, I'm going to try a little bit, and then I'm not even going to introduce any of those bills. I don't think the lens that you're seeing it through is the lens that a lot of voters see it through when they're going to vote for people like Joe Manchin, people that will give us a Senate majority. Good talk, All right,
man.
thank you.
Surrounded is now a podcast, available wherever you listen. Search Surrounded, plug in, and stay part of the conversation. Anywhere, anytime.
My next claim is Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. It's a marketing ploy, not a mission.
Hi, Zena, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Zena.
Awesome. So I think that we largely agree, like kind of others have said. I just like want a little clarity on understanding how Democrats like water down their social issues, things like DEI and other measures to kind of bridge the gap that we've seen in like racial disparity, for example. How, in your worldview, do we reconcile such issues?
So in the beginning, did we need affirmative action?
He hates DEI. Remember, the populist position. Where's Hassan? He's going to have the same position as his Nepo friend, Hassan Piker here.
Social policies are literally completely the social policies are completely irrelevant. It's literally just distractions. Like, if you are actually interested in dialectical thinking, you should know that. You should literally be like, yeah, the social policy shit is just a simple distraction as capital owners squeeze every ounce of surplus labor value from you.
Based. They don't give a fuck.
Definitely, because what happened before the civil rights movement was, so let's say that your firefighters or your longshoremen, those are really good jobs. They pay pretty well. They're good blue collar jobs. What do you want to do? You want to pass it on to your kids because you're normal, right? That's the type of thing that you want to do. Yeah. But unfortunately, at that point, almost all the jobs are held by white people. So we do affirmative action because, guys, we got to let others in. Otherwise, it's not fair, right? And so that makes sense. But then over the course of decade after decade after decade, we wind up with DEI. And DEI has some good things in it, but it also had some abuses in it. We covered it on the Young Turks. There'd be situations where a white woman would say, okay, now can I tell you my perspective? And they would say, no, shut up, your job is to learn. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
That was a DEI.
So are you talking about like fringe cases in which like someone would say that they feel unfairly treated by DEI? Because I think in any type of law that we're going to see passed, we're going to see fringe cases in which the law is I guess manipulated in some case to negatively affect certain groups. But I think that we see like largely the effect on the black population is extremely substantial and extremely important. For example, we see that like I think there's a study done. I don't remember if it was 2015 or 2002, but it was a study done where they simulated a class-based DEI program instead of race. What we found was equally qualified black individuals were much less likely to be chosen on this class-based protocol. And we saw that like the protocol actually represented a lot less of the black population that exists in this country, whereas DEI ensures that we have a representative pool of applicants and admitted students in our colleges, which is extremely important.
So look, again, DEI and affirmative action had their role, had their place, and oftentimes
I'm saying that they have a role now.
So
he doesn't care.
What it also does at the same time, though, is serves to divide us. And so, look, if you say to me, hey, maybe Muslims have a disadvantage even if you take class into account. So should we...
This is kind of the socialist position. I don't know if Cenk is a full socialist, he's a populist, but it's the same thing here, right? Black people in a picture, the Democrats, who is this even for? We need to be talking about class interests. This shit, no one cares. We got to talk about the class interests.
Give a little bit of extra weight to Muslim candidates? I would say Absolutely not.
Why not?
Do not do that. Because then what it does is it makes everyone bitter about the Muslim candidates.
Here's the problem.
And it makes them seem like they didn't earn it.
Here's what I find super important.
When in fact they did earn it.
So what you're explaining is the response to the policy, and you're not actually digging at the policy in of itself. You're saying because people will come out and be, racist or Islamophobic or whatever it might be because of a policy that is ensuring equality of opportunity, we should cancel the policy. But that is not a critique of the policy. That's a critique of the Republican or usually conservative response to said policy. So do you have a problem with the policy or the response?
So my point here is that this is among the different things that the Democrats do where they say, hey...
He just actually can't answer the fucking question. I don't know how intentional this is. Or if this is just now, this is politics, post-Trump, post-Hassan, post-everybody in our political sphere and in our political system. We just don't answer questions or we're not capable of engaging with anything anymore. Really?
I think they're being performative. They say, "Oh, we're in favor of DEI." It might be performative,
but the output is
important. What the thing that would help African American community, Latino community, Muslim community, all those communities is actually raising the minimum wage, lowering drug prices. But we never do the material help. We never do the things that equal things out economically.
You still haven't critiqued the policy in of itself. You're saying people will get angry if we come out and we promote these different metrics of helping people.
No, I am critiquing the policy.
So what exactly about the policy is
because
negative?
It divides us.
How does the policy divide?
Even though it has
by saying that racism exists?
Yeah. So
but racism,
but not by saying that racism exists. So you have to acknowledge reality, right? What you're saying is now we're going to put black people in this category. We're going to put white people in this category.
Because there are categories that exist now at a subconscious level that we characterize each other by.
So even if you get a benefit from that, you say, hey, I reduced racism by 10%, 20%, et cetera. What you're doing is you're not noticing the giant downside of that, which is then people start.
It's all about class, baby.
To view each other as black, white,
We've
Asian,
always done that. That's happening unconsciously all the time.
You're right, but what I would love is for us to stop doing that.
All of our psychology.
For people to stop looking at me as a Muslim and you as a black person. I want them to look at you as an American and me as an American.
If you want less racism and less racial categorizing, or us to see it as less of an initial categorization, studies show that we need to attack racism and race as a concept head on. We cannot ignore them or input race neutral policy into place. What we find is that characterizing race, saying what it is, saying what racism is, and thus, confronting ourselves with our biases is what limits them. So no, we can't say, let's stop dividing people with the corrective policy. The corrective policy is helping something that has always existed, that's happening all the time.
So I told you I have an issue with the policy itself. I think it divides us.
You haven't explained it, though.
And do the Democrats actually pass their agenda? Even if they agree with you, did they pass Voting Rights Act? They did not.
The problem is capitulating to right framework, which I think was what you're doing here when you said the response to DEI is going to be negative. The thing is, when we... All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey,
good to meet you.
So, Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. I would say they want to pass their agenda. It's just, if you ask 50 Democrats what their agenda is, you'd get 60 different answers. We've got the environmentalists who hate the labor people hate the environmentalists, we have the gay rights lobby, we have racial justice people, we have all different people, immigration activists, everybody.
Do you think that she's right? I think when it comes to any kind of affirmative action, DEI shit or whatever, I'm a very, very big data numbers guy. Look at the numbers, look at the data crunch, see how it works. In some places it didn't work that well. Like I said, I think California got rid of affirmative action for school stuff before any Supreme Court case did. Strictly on ideological talking points, I shouldn't say ideological, strictly on talking points, I think I would have agreed more with Cenk in that argument. But Cenk is not arguing from a place of we need to get rid of certain categories that are pitting us against each other. Cenk is saying that, but what he really means is I want us to be pitted against each other. I just don't want us to be pitted against each other based on race or sex. I want us to be pitted against each other based on class. That's what Cenk is saying.
Everybody thinks that their issue is the most important one. And I know you don't acknowledge that usually at the beginning of an administration, there's the maximum political capital. And if they don't get something in that time, then they weren't really trying. But what has happened in the past, we saw Biden pass a number of bills in those first 2 years. The CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the American Rescue Plan. Obama passed the Affordable Care Act. We've passed all kinds of things, but we also all disagree on what the hell the Democrats should do. And that leads to the point where somebody is always frustrated in our coalition because we are not just a big tent, we're a 3-ring circus ring. We have such a big tent that's collapsing in on itself. Yeah. So this idea that we don't want to pass an agenda, the last point I'll make, because I'm taking up a lot of time, I would just look at the places where Democrats have all the power, like here in California. California, when you were growing up, I was growing up. I'm actually an 80-year-old man. That's why I got my Mr. Rogers sweater. It was smog here in LA. Like, you couldn't see 50 feet in front of your house. We created not just the most powerful environmental regulator in this country. CARB is the most powerful environmental regulator in the world. And that was Democrats that did that. So this idea that when Democrats have power, they don't actually know what to do with it is bogus. We've seen it here in California. We've seen it in New York with free college. We've seen it in many states. So I just don't agree that we don't actually want to do anything.
Okay, so you mentioned about a dozen things there. Let me take two of them as an example. So the CHIPS Act that you mentioned, right? The Democrats told us when we were covering it live on the Young Turks, oh, this is such a monumental bill. It's so important. And I was like, okay, nobody's going to vote based on that. So put that aside, because that was definitely true, but okay, not pertinent to whether they were trying to do something that the Democratic voters wanted. So that they said that was for national security. Okay, there's some truth to that, right? And they said it was to, don't worry, this is to create more jobs. So now, what did they do? Very typical Democratic bill. They passed over $50 billion in corporate subsidies. The number one recipient was Intel, $8.5 billion in grants and $11 billion in loans. So about $20 billion overall.
Yeah, what did he think the CHIPS Act was supposed to do? Chips aren't being made by individual people. What is he?
I said, for God's sake, at least put in guardrails so they can't fire people. They said, oh, don't worry, Intel's going to create.
Put in guardrails so they can't fire people? Wait, what? What? What?
10,000 jobs. You know what they did? They didn't put in the guardrails. And right afterwards, Intel fired 20,000 people.
That's just weird to mention guardrails against firing people when...
Yeah, what? That had nothing to do with that bill. What are we talking about?
You rejected a union at your company and fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up. There's a union now, but
yeah,
you
could look it up to a bunch of liars. But this is a random thing that you're throwing in there, I guess, to just personally attack me. But there is a union.
No,
I'll tell you facts. Do you want to explain facts? So facts are, yes, IATSE is at Young Turks. It's been at Young Turks for over 5 years.
Did you or did you not reject a card check?
Yeah, I did. And so, in fact, card check, yes, that is the one thing I disagree with in the PRO Act. And yes, you are allowed to disagree with one part of the bill or 5% of a bill, right? And so in our case,
so
what
we can compromise and have
my
nuance?
Personal dealings at Young Turks, okay, fine, we can do it.
It's not personal, it's a public thing.
That was a good point that he just brought up. Notice how when Cenk talks about his union stuff, now all of a sudden there is a compromise and there's some things that are okay and some things that aren't, and we got to have a back and forth conversation. But when it's the Democrats, we need to force a vote in Congress, and we need a fucking primary, every fucking person, let's win, blah, 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 blah. Right? But when it's him, this is like the saying, the only moral abortion is my abortion. When you have lifelong Republicans or conservatives who are staunchly against abortion or staunchly against any type of pro-choice stuff, but then as soon as they get pregnant, whoa. Now it's a lot different.
No, okay, no problem. Okay, but let me address it. Now you got into a weirdo thing that not about policy, not about the Democrats, but about my company. Fine. So since you smeared me, let's explain. So that people come in and go, okay, surprise, we didn't ask you for anything, but we formed a union. I go, guys, great, prove it. They say, oh, we had a secret vote. And then people come up to me, other employees.
That's what a card check is.
Hold on. Other employees come up to me and go, they're intimidating us. We didn't ask for this.
We're getting way off base here.
I know, because you brought us off base with a random attack against me.
Because you brought up guardrails.
Then
let me just say one final thing.
Let me finish, because you're not going to smear me and not let me explain, okay? So then I said, since people felt intimidated, it's okay.
You felt intimidated.
No. How do you know? You're not even, you weren't there. You're just making stuff up.
Because you're the one that fought it.
So hold on.
You're the one that went to the NLRB and had to.
What the hell is this?
You don't want to shift the answer. You just want to filibuster.
Okay, let me answer. So then I said, for God's sake, just do a vote. No problem. You get a union the very next day. They did a vote and it passed and they got a union immediately. As soon as I was sure that all of our employees were not being intimidated or bullied, they instantly got a union, and we've had a union for 5 years. There's people who are like...
in response to public pressure, but okay.
There are people who are making stuff up 24/7, and they keep telling people like you that we rejected a union when we didn't. We authorized it immediately as soon as we had a fair vote. Okay, now back to what you thought was, I thought we were arguing about.
Good talking to you.
I'm not really, but okay.
I got him.
Hey, Cenk.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. I have a lot of respect for you, but I worry about your progressive populism is dangerous. In fact, to me, you kind of sound like a political pickup artist. Like, just do this one trick and we can fix it all. And to me, it's...
Oh!
It's no different than what MAGA is doing with their faux populism.
I think this was
with the
back
deep
in
state.
2021. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh, okay, I see.
With undocumented immigrants, someone to blame. You're just giving people corporate corrupt Democrats or corporate media as an excuse. And I think you're just taking advantage of disaffected people and not showing them we got to get more involved. We got to invest more. We got to try harder and get good people in there.
So you're saying that don't even try progressive populism, just go along with the establishment Democrats because they know how to win. That's why they beat Donald Trump twice. Oh, right. They lost to Trump twice. They don't know anything. Their number one thing was, oh, we know how to win. They were liars. They didn't know how to win at all. They got clowned by a guy who's not that bright. Now, number two, oh, we have this giant agenda, $15 minimum wage, all the things that we've talked about throughout the day. Oh, golly gee, we just couldn't pass any of it. Oh, wow, okay. But hey, vote for an establishment Democrat.
The problem when you're a f***ing child and you don't give a f*** about anything like that actually happens in terms of policy is policy debate just becomes like 3 pet issues for you because you're too retarded, I guess, to recognize that there are other massive parts of this country that are massively important to talk about. Like if you want to talk about abstract or concrete things like rule of law, it's a really big deal that has been utterly trashed. Some of these Supreme Court rulings are just insane. And the legacy that we're going to be, why am I saying a legacy? It's a 6th Street Court. Who the knows how much longer it's going to be a 6th Street Court for? The horrible rulings we've gotten and the rulings of the future is the thing. The massive defunding of scientific research is like a footnote that people are like offhandedly mentioning is going to have dramatic, horrible downstream impacts on this country. The destruction of all of our international relationships and the entire rest of the world. Look at the United States like a fucking DID schizo crazy person when it comes to writing any type of deal, whether it's trade or alliances or anything else. Like all of these things are horrible. But it's like with Cenk, it's like, we've 15-hour public option. We 15 hour. Like that's the only thing. Like his rectangular head can only fit 2 ideas at one point in time because it wasn't the right shape to entertain critical thought. It's so stupid to me.
Don't get tricked by left-wing populism. Brother, do we actually ever try left-wing populism?
Yes.
Here's the 3 things we've tried. We've tried establishment Democrats, complete failures. We've tried establishment Republicans, complete failures. We tried fake populism under Donald Trump, complete failure.
I disagree.
So the only thing we haven't tried is left-wing populism.
you say
that's not how it works. You can't just go to the country and go like, hey guys, we've tried all this other stuff. Can we try this thing now? That's not how it works. You have to win votes. Why don't you go win some state votes and then show us you actually have the possibility of being competitive on a federal level, and then we'll take an actual election seriously. Like he's turned into the Libertarian Party, where they don't even try to win at local levels. Like, oh, fuck it, every 4 years, let's just go ahead and throw up our candidate and see if we can win a presidential election. Lol.
Don't try it. Go back to the establishment Democrats. Go back to the donor class. Are you crazy? Let's try the one thing we didn't try.
Just keep repeating the same points over and over and over again. Yes.
Bernie Sanders wing, economic populism.
You say the American Rescue Plan that took half the kids in poverty out of it, millions of kids who go to bed hungry.
He doesn't give a f. His kids aren't hungry. What are you talking? Does Cenk have kids? Well, he doesn't give a f. Regardless, they're old enough. He doesn't care. Why would he give a f about things like the child tax credit or anything like that? Who cares? That's not sexy and cool. Like 15 an hour.
Crumbs is doing nothing? That is a big deal. What about the millions of people who have health insurance now because of the Affordable Care Act subsidies? No, you can call it whatever you want, but the reality is... Millions of people have health insurance today because of what the Democrats did when they controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House in 2022 under the Inflation Reduction Act and the American Rescue Plan.
True.
I can't stand that you call it crumbs. People don't want their whole lives given to them. They just want a little breathing room like our big President Biden used to say.
So you say you're super happy with the 5 to 10% that the Democrats gave you.
It's not...
God, he's so cringe. As opposed to the 0 to 0% that the progressives is given, as opposed to the 0 to 0% your far left idealistic ideas have got us, as opposed to the 0 to 0% that you have gotten every time you've ran for office. Like, come on.
Brother, there's 2 things here. Number 1, I don't know what economic class you're in, but the average American is not happy with 5 to 10%.
Oh my God, dude.
Change. They want giant change. They want the actual, by the way, the Democratic agenda is great. Our populist plank, the 6 most popular bills in the Democratic agenda, are super popular with independents and even with Republicans. But they never, ever do the most popular bills because they're economic bills. And you say that's good enough. But then why not try the entire agenda? Why not go with an economic populist?
Because we live in a democracy. Because we live in a democratic republic where people vote for politicians that they want to represent on the federal level. And I know that it hurts. I know that it hurts, especially for, ooh, never mind. Just kidding. I know that it hurts. But you just have to accept that there are other people with different ideas than you. I almost got racist there for a second. I know it hurts for you, especially as a Turkish person. You can't just kill everybody, okay, that you disagree with. Okay. If I was Jewish, I'd make that joke, though, because I feel like he's full on the anti-Semitism train. But unfortunately, in the United States, we have people that we disagree with sometimes, and they also inhabit that same federal government. We kind of have to work around them as well. It's what makes our country simultaneously so fucked and great at the same time.
Just like Bernie Sanders or Ro Khanna, that's going to give you the whole agenda and actually try. Why give up ahead of time?
Those are great plans, and we should strive for them. But this is a giant country. We're the 3rd largest country in the world. We have a complicated democracy. We have to do things slowly. I know you don't like that.
Oh, good job, IRI, for having a basic understanding. IRI knows. I think IRI actually has every senator and representative and where they're from memorized. So what I was going to say was going to sound really condescending, but I was meaning to condescend to Cenk, okay? That, yes, welcome. This is how the American system works, buddy.
I know you want to get there, boom, boom, boom. But people do not want to abandon what they're used to. It sounds great on paper. Would you like single-payer health care where you save trillions of dollars and you pay less? Of course. But then when you show people how we get there, they're scared, they're nervous, and they have a right-wing media machine on overload that is scaring the hell out of people. That's what we're up against. This is reality, man. Welcome to it.
So Martin Luther King called this the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. So they tell you, don't worry, we'll do that tiny bit, and then when you elect us again, we'll do another tiny bit.
What do you think MLK marched for? It wasn't they didn't get the civil rights executive order. They didn't get the civil rights bully pulpit speech. It was legislation. It was a civil rights act. It was a big legislative accomplishment that they got in a lot of different places. It's not just, I don't know.
And 200 years later, this will get done.
Millions of kids
let me
not
explain.
going to bed hungry is a tiny bit, Jake.
Let me explain in the context of healthcare. They say we're for universal healthcare. You go, okay, great, let's do Medicare for all. Oh, no way, wait too long. Okay.
Also, I think MLK, wasn't he a big Israel simp too? Careful. I think that was true. I don't remember.
No problem, no problem. Can we do public option? This debate goes all the way back to the Affordable Care Act. They go, oh, yeah, sure, we love the public option. Oh, golly, gee, we had to take the public option out. There was nothing we could do. Okay, Obama says he had to take it out because the drug companies were opposed to it. First of all, you're admitting that you're giving into the donor.
The donor party, the donor class.
Then Joe Biden comes in and goes, how can we do public option?
We have
50-50.
We have 50-50 split Senate with guys like Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema.
You know how you do it, brother?
Bully pulpit. Oh God, my final cum in the evening. Please say bully pulpit. It's the last one. I have a special third ball that I have reserved cum shots in just for the bully pulpit. I feel like I haven't heard it yet. Please, 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 please.
You know how you do it? By trying.
Yep. They try. They try every day.
No, but literally
You're not on the inside.
No,
you don't know.
You're stating a misstatement, okay? So Joe Biden never introduced the public option. If you never introduced the public option, by definition, you did not try. Second of all,
that's how that works. You just have to. Oh, so then what? Is the contrapositive of that true? So if you do introduce it, then you did try? Is that all it takes? As long as I introduce a piece of legislation in Congress, that means I tried? That counts?
So, the Senate is split. Okay, you put pressure on. So can pressure work politically?
Pressure. That's kind of like bully pulpit. Come on, just say it.
Well, we know because Donald Trump did it to Republicans. Now, he did it for his own cause and for his own self-aggrandizement. But anytime a Republican crossed him in the first term, he said, we're going to eliminate Joe Wilson in South Carolina, and boom, he was eliminated. Now, imagine if you did that.
You want to bully our senators?
Yes, I do.
That's
absolutely.
What you want to threaten their lives? What do you want to do to them?
So can I explain?
He almost said it, and I already cut him off.
Yes, I do.
That's
absolutely.
What you want to do? You want to threaten their lives? What do you want to do to them?
So can I explain?
I'm going to bully the... Oh, no, he wasn't. Come on, he'll say it.
They represent their people. Joe Manchin represents his people. They sent him there. How do you know that?
They represent the donor class. Well, this is where I have to part from IRI here. I don't know why IRI would assume that he has any idea what West Virginians want just because of who they voted for. How stupid. Now, Cenk, the Californian, who named himself after a radical group of people that were part of some of the largest genocides in all of human history, okay? Now, Cenk over here, okay, the Californian liberal media guy, he absolutely knows what West Virginians want, okay? This is the guy right here. This is the guy right here that absolutely is ready to tell you what West Virginians want, and it's not what they voted for or what they voted for. So retarded.
You're not from West Virginia.
Okay, hold on. They represent their donors. So
BS.
Okay.
Yes, MLK was a supporter of Israel. He also said anti-Zionist is inherently anti-Semitic and ever will be so, which drives leftists crazy. Damn. Although, to be fair, was MLK... Did he die in 64? MLK assassination. I don't actually remember the date. I'm not going to predict. 68. Because they're going to say if he died before the Six-Day War, there was no occupation of the West Bank and Gaza. So maybe lefties could say that. Well, he was okay with Israel before they occupied the territories, maybe. Although I don't know if they would even be okay with that. Who knows?
Okay, you're not from West Virginia.
Okay, hold on. They represent their donors.
So BS.
Okay.
It's an excuse.
Oh yeah,
it's
I know.
An excuse.
The donors
it's a
are non-existent.
It's
They're
a boogeyman.
non-existent. Millions of dollars given to Joe
more
Manchin. He doesn't care about that.
To Kamala than it's
They're
a boogeyman.
non-existent. Millions of dollars given to Joe Manchin. He doesn't care about that.
More people donated to Kamala than outside.
Like millions of dollars given to him personally?
Groups in this election cycle. It's a boogeyman, and you're wasting people's time with this.
Nonsense.
Yes.
Do you know that Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, after they voted against minimum wage increase, went to the National Restaurant Association and collected checks? They literally work for their donors. It is super literal. And what
like personal checks? National Restaurant Association? How many restaurants do they represent that do tipped positions versus fast food people? I'm curious. Because how much does minimum wage? Minimum wage probably doesn't even have that big of an effect on most restaurant sit-down places. Fast food probably would, but what is this point?
you're saying to people is ignore it.
No,
ignore the donors. Ignore
to everybody who sends money to those guys.
It's disrespectful to Joe Manchin, and I intend to disrespect Joe Manchin. I despise Joe Manchin. I despise those corporate Democrats who never ever deliver for you, who never even try to deliver for you. You know, here's what you say. Here's what you say.
Well, they didn't have a back and forth.
Let's see.
Hey.
So your claim is that Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. You've talked about $15 an hour minimum wage. So how can you explain then that Joe Biden did in fact increase to $15 an hour for federal contractors with an increase again this year to $17.75?
What an absolutely fucking point. That's the pressure valve. You're falling for the pressure valve. It's like people don't understand. They either do nothing because they hate America, when they get in the donor class, or they do a little bit because of the pressure valve. And that's it. That's all they do. The pressure valve.
Yeah. So
pressure valve. Pressure valve.
It's a
pressure
release valve.
So, yeah, I come. Yes. 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 Yes.
Why?
Hold
on. Yes, because it affects a tiny percentage of Americans.
It affects 300,000 people.
300,000 out of
how many? Please say 300 million. Like baby voters and baby workers are the ones. Please say 300 million. Oh my God, hold on. It's fifth secret load saved up. Please say 350 million or 340 million. Please say it.
330 million.
Ah, I come again. Not the baby laborers, not the 2-year-old federal employee. No.
People. So that's why.
Why would you at least just go working age population, if not actual workforce? Oh my God.
Actually did federal minimum wage, moved it to $15. That would move $92 billion from corporations to the average American. Okay, so that's what we.
What is that metric? I don't know that. What? Jesus. Okay.
When I assume you want it, I want it, all Democrats want it. It polls at around 67%. So what I'm saying to all of you guys is, please expect better of your politicians. So when they give you a 3%, oh, hey, look, I did it for 300,000 people. Hey, look, the drug prices, I lowered it on 10 drugs.
Oh, 300,000 people. Oh, the drug price on just some of the most popularly consumed drugs in America.
drugs out of 10,000 drugs. Don't say that's good enough.
But
They're
Cenk,
shielding.
you just said
That's a shield so that you don't question them when they say, "Oh, I'm not going to do it for everyone."
You just said that all Democrats want to raise it to $15 an hour. That has not been your claim this entire time.
No, voters.
Voters,
Yeah.
right? But Democratic politicians do too. If Joe
No, they
Biden,
don't.
if Joe Biden didn't want to do it, why did he increase it?
The pressure valve. Come on. Oh, he's like this. Oh my God, I need a jank sound effect of a, oh my God. Like a steam release sound effect. Is it this? No. Like the one where it's like starting to blow up. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? What would you call it? No. Oh, tea kettle. I'm sorry, I'm not British. That's what I was thinking of. Is it this one? Okay, that's close. Isn't there like a pressure valve as it's like starting to like pressurize? Isn't there like another sound effect that's not quite a tea kettle? Am I thinking of a different one, or is it just a tea kettle sound effect? Train whistle sound effect? No. Steam whistle, I swear. Steam whistle sound effect. No. I think the tea kettle was the one I was thinking of.
But
For
wait a minute.
federal contractors,
So then-
he didn't have the votes to pass it.
That's exactly what I'm telling you. So what he does is he does it for 5% of people with student debt relief. He did it for 10% of people. He didn't do it for 90%. So in the case
why
of the
do
federal
anything
minimum
at
wage,
all?
let me bring it back to you. Federal minimum wage. So he says, "Oh, progressives, don't worry. It's bare minimum. We're definitely going to do it." So they pass it in the House. They bring it to the Senate. Joe Biden does an interview.
15 an hour minimum wage is the bare minimum.
The bare minimum, we're definitely going to do it. So they pass it in the House, they bring it to the Senate. Joe Biden does an interview during the Super Bowl right after he's elected, and he says, "Oh, we're taking $15 minimum wage out of the bill." The Republicans didn't take it out of the bill. Joe Biden took it out of the
Trump
bill.
did. Trump did get rid of it on executive order.
Okay,
so now
so-
they don't have it at all.
right.
So you're saying then that Trump, you're saying that Democrats and Republicans are both equal in terms of economics, right? How is that equal in terms of economics when?
Stop. No.
Joe Biden raised it, and then Trump took it away by executive order.
So, but wait a minute. But you're
Who cares? Wait, did they just cut? This is at 1:37, and this goes ahead by. Did they cut like 5, 6, 7, like 10 seconds out? I don't know. Whatever. Okay.
You're saying
when Joe Biden raised it, and then Trump took it away by executive order.
So, but wait a minute. But you're saying that even though
There's a
he
cut
took
there,
it
yeah,
out,
there.
and then when Bernie put it back in, 8 Democratic senators,
Bernie put it back in, bro. What are you even talking about? Oh my God.
including the 2 Delaware senators that are the closest allies of Biden, voted against federal minimum wage being increased to $15. So can you not see that they're literally voting against it? They're literally taking it out of the bill. They're literally tricking you. They don't actually want to pass it. They get your vote by saying, "Oh, I'm going to do it. And then the minute they get in office, they're like, "I was just kidding. Take it out of the
What
bill."
evidence do you have that Joe Biden actually did want those senators to vote against it? What evidence do you
Two
have
pieces
of
of
that?
evidence. Number one, it passed in the House, and I even talked to Democratic congressmen. They assured me, "Don't worry, it's going to pass in the Senate." It goes to the Senate, and it's out of the bill. Schumer made that decision in conjunction with Joe Biden. So why did Schumer and Biden take it out of the bill?
Because of the donor class, or because they didn't think it would get the votes to pass?
That's my evidence.
So, Cenk, is your claim?
That's your no, that's not your evidence. She didn't ask if we had 15 an hour minimum wage. We obviously don't have that. We don't have it. The evidence wasn't it's taken out of the bill. That's the action. The claim that you're making, though, said they took it out for malicious reasons. Why? The evidence is, why did they take it out for the donor class? What's your evidence of that? That they took it out because they hate Americans and they don't support 15 an hour minimum wage?
Claim then that
And then secondly, by the way, when they did vote on it, his 2 biggest allies, both the Delaware senators, voted against the 15.
Oh, and apparently the 15 an hour minimum wage not allowed in Biden's COVID relief bill. Senate official says Democrats cannot include a 15 per hour minimum wage in their $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package. Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough ruled the provision does not comply with the rules governing budget reconciliation. The process enables Democrats to pass the rescue measure without the GOP votes. Oh, wait. So, okay. So tell me if I'm, because it's all these rules. Does this mean that when they were making, is this because the Senate can do some things via reconciliation that don't require all 60 votes? because it's not meaningfully different from like the House's version. And so they tried to see if this 15 an hour minimum wage would be allowed in, but then the parliamentarian said, no, that's probably too different from the legislation that was already before us. If you want to do 15 an hour in the bill, you have to have 60 votes. That's what this means. Okay.
$15 minimum wage. That's overwhelming evidence. Do you think that they didn't ask Joe Biden? No, they called Joe Biden, and Joe Biden said vote against it because he was lying.
That's just not true.
Jesus Christ.
But also,
that is literally true, and anybody can look it up.
Are you claiming then that all Democrats that take corporate money are against the people? Is that your claim?
Absolutely,
okay.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. He walked very bravely into that. Is she about to say that he took corporate money or that Bernie or AOC did? I don't know if either of them did. I'm not sure.
So then why did TYT take $20 million of corporate
money?
Here we
go.
Oh, shit. She got the whole media network. He's going to say we're not politicians, although he did run for office. So, like, would you have been beholden to the people that donated to the corporate money that went to your media company while you were running for office? Or
go again with personal attacks.
It's not
okay,
it's
no
not
problem.
No
problem. I want to answer it. No problem.
Please
okay,
answer it.
yeah. So $20 million is an investment.
Okay.
It is not here, take the money and then you do what we tell you to do.
What? What does he mean by investment? Oh, he just means an investment that the money will go up and they'll have no influence over what happens at all. Like, he's going to do this thing. It's the attribution bias, where when he does the thing, he's doing it for noble reasons. He's based. He won't do anything like he won't do anything against the rules. He's going to be like independent minded. He's not going to let the money influence him. But when politicians take the money, they're doing it to kill babies in Gaza, and they're totally bought and paid for by the corporate donor class.
Everyone has, if you're building a business, you have to take investment to get to the next level.
Cenk, I built a business.
If you don't take the
what she should have asked her if she did build a business, I don't know what his business, but she should have asked is, oh, I'm sorry. When you said that they did a 20% or $20 million investment, does that mean that they just like gave you a preferred loan or something? Or did they buy equity in your business? Because if they bought equity in your business, how much equity did they buy? Doesn't that actually give them the ability to make decisions for your business? Like, is there not some kind of board or whatever that represents shareholder interest then that could actually force you to take a certain position or stance that you don't agree with potentially, right? Like,
investment, you're going to be tiny. So
can somebody actually show me that 20 mil investment, the Young Turks? That's a killer question if they got some big chunk of equity for that. Led by growth equity firm 3L Capital. The valuation of the Young Turks in the deal wasn't disclosed. I wonder how much equity they got, or if they still are like big owners of parts of the Young Turks business. I have no clue. It's not publicly traded, so they don't have to like publish it on this, I guess, right?
So what some leftists say is, no, don't ever build anything. Don't ever take an investment. Don't ever do anything and build a big business.
He's channeling. I see him. Wait, do you guys see him? Do you see him? Because I see him. Do you see him? There he is. He coming.
You have to take investment to get to the next level.
Cenk, I built a business.
If you don't take the investment, you're going to be tiny. So what some leftists say is, no, don't ever build anything. Don't ever take an investment. Don't ever do anything and build a big business.
So socialism is when no $20 million hedge fund invests in your media company? Really, guys? That's what we're doing right now.
So instead, let the right wing take not only investment money, but direct money like Dennis Prager did, $23 million, take it from the fracking billionaires, all those guys, and serve those guys. Let the right wing grow and grow and grow. But as soon as there's a successful left wing channel, don't take an investment.
I like how you can make literally the exact same argument for Democratic politicians. Oh, okay, well, we're not going to take any corporate money. We're not going to have any money to advertise in any states. Even if the corporations might even agree with our positions, we're just going to be getting wrecked in every single election, and we're just going to let them out fundraise us and outspend us in every single district, and we're just losing it. Right? Couldn't you make the exact same argument here?
Don't take any money. Just be super small so we can't compete with the right wing.
Cenk,
How does that make sense?
I'm pro you taking that investment. I've built a business. I understand that. I just think that it's ironic for you then to sit up here and say that everybody that takes corporate money is against the people, because then you would be against the people.
No, that doesn't make, that's apples and oranges.
Why is it apples and oranges?
I can explain
Okay,
perfectly.
please tell me.
So should corporations be allowed to exist? Absolutely.
Okay.
Should corporations be allowed to give
Let me check
money
the
to our
SEC form.
politicians
I
so
don't know.
they control our government? Absolutely not. No way. So
Okay.
when a corporation does an investment, that's a perfectly logical and normal thing to do. When a corporation buys a politician and those politicians then vote with them, that is a terrible thing to do.
Didn't
I'm
you run
actually
for office?
I'm a capitalist. I believe in capitalism, but I believe in democratic capitalism where democracy checks capitalism. Otherwise, it becomes corporatism and becomes a monster. But I don't want to defeat all the companies, and I certainly don't want to defeat left-wing media companies. That makes no sense at all. You see how it's apples and oranges?
I don't.
One is a company and the other one's a politician.
Okay.
One is normal business, the other one is to influence
Sure.
our government.
Let's talk about.
Couldn't you, why wouldn't the investors influence your media company? No?
Hey, before we go any further.
Cenk is a JD from Colombia? Wait, what? That's wild if that's true. Damn, he does. Holy shit. Did he never take the bar, or did he never practice? Technically, you can get a JD and go further and do like legal scholarship or research or whatever this. But that's some donor class shit. Wait, read that section. Oh, I skipped this. Sorry. 96. He worked as an associate attorney. He practiced law. That year, Cenk Uygur wrote on a blog post on the TYT website, "It seems like there is a sea of tits here, and I am drinking in tiny droplets. Obviously, the genes of women are flawed. They are poorly designed creatures who do not want to have sex nearly as often as needed for the human race to get along peaceably and fruitfully." He also wrote in a letter to the editor in Salon that talk of an Armenian genocide was simply propaganda. Wait, what did he write on this on? He wrote an actual letter on this? Wait, does anybody have a link to this full article? In November 91, while Cenk Uygur was on the Student Activities Council representing the Turkish Students Association at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, he published an article in the Daily Pennsylvanian titled Historical Fact or Falsehood. In the article, Uygur wrote, "The claims of an Armenian genocide are not based on historical facts. If the history of the period is examined, it becomes evident that in fact no such genocide took place. There cannot be any harm in taking a closer look at history to find the truth. After all, if the genocide did take place, it should be relatively easy to prove. It is kind of hard to miss the planned extermination of 1.5 million people, isn't it?" Okay, I will say that people's beliefs can change over time, but it would be incredibly fucking weird if he started the Young Turks. Like if he started it with that name while he still didn't believe that there was an Armenian genocide. That would be really, 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 really strange. Towards the end of the article, Uygur states, "Once you really examine the history of the time, it becomes apparent that the allegations of an Armenian genocide are unfounded, so the question arises why the Armenians would bother to conjure up such stories, even go as far as committing approximately 200 acts of terrorism since 1973 to further their cause, resulting in countless deaths and injuries to government officials and civilians. The answer is that they want their demands met." In June of 99, in the letters to the editor section of Salon, Uygur wrote, "The United States helped to sponsor war propaganda against Turkey during World War I as part of an official campaign to smear its enemies, as it did with Germany. Part of this propaganda was the evil butchery of the Turks against the defenseless Christian Armenians. This is what has been rooted in the popular memory of America, with very few Turkish Americans to combat the insinuations of savagery, yet this is not propaganda." Uygur concludes this letter by stating, "I once asked a professor of mine who taught a class on the laws of war and war crimes at Columbia Law School to deprogram me from all the propaganda I had received growing up Turkish. I asked him to please find me evidence of the genocide by neutral scholars so I could know the truth. After investigating the issue, he came back and said that he could not find one non-Armenian scholar who believed this was a genocide, but since it looked like a duck, it walked like a duck, and it talked like a duck, it must be a duck. If that's not the product of excellent propaganda, I don't know what is." In 2002, he started a talk show on Sirius Satellite Radio called The Young Turks. Of course, no one who had actually read Uygur's previous statements could believe that the naming of the show could be completely unrelated to the history of Turkey and Armenia. Yet this is what Uygur and his co-host of The Young Turks are attempting to have their audience believe. During an appearance at a California State Democratic Party convention in 2012, Uygur found himself confronted by protesters who were upset by Uygur's past comments on the Armenian genocide. To this, Uygur responded that he completely understood the tremendous pain the Armenian community feels about the historical situation that happened in that era, and that he could sympathize with the concerns about the name of the show. He further excused himself and his past denial of the genocide by stating that The name The Young Turks, has no historical reference whatsoever. Oh wait, is he just lying? Did he ever give another he just said that the name was random? I feel like that's kind of wild that he got away with with using that name. Wait, what the they give a little summary at the top, but the Armenian genocide in 1908 under the Ottoman Empire, a political group named the Young Turks waged a rebellion against Sultan Abdul Hamid II, forcing him out of political office. By 1915, this political party would become the perpetrators of what had come to be known as the Armenian genocide, in which 1.5 million were estimated to have been systematically dislocated, tortured, and massacred. The event culminated on the 24th of April 1915 when Young Turk members arrested and later killed 250 various Armenian intellectuals and community leaders in the Ottoman capital of Constantinople. The evidence confirming the Armenian genocide not only abundant but also dishearteningly tragic. He really just said it was a random name they chose? That's epic. Every year, the Armenian Club takes out a full-page ad in the Daily Pennsylvanian making its claims of a genocide. Oh no. Please keep an open mind on the matter. Just because someone wrote in your world history book in high school that this happened does not mean that it did. Jesus.
The Republicans only care about the rich and everything else is a mirage.
Oh my God. Can he actually do a whole topic where he's just shitting on Republicans? Can he really? Will he make it? Will he make it?
How are you?
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So personally, I don't like absolutes, so I try to stay away from them. When you say the Republicans, are you talking about the party establishment? Are you talking about the politician? Are you talking about the citizens?
Okay.
Personally, I don't like absolutes, so I try to stay away from them. When you say the Republicans, are you talking about the party establishment? Are you talking about the politician? Are you talking about the citizens?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked that. I always mean the politicians. Okay, so for all of these, don't take offense if you're a Democrat or a Republican voter. I'm talking about the politicians.
I'm neither one. But so do you think that the Republicans care more about the rich than the Democrats? Do you think the Democratic establishment really doesn't just care about the rich?
So as I said, I think that both parties are similar on economic issues, and they play good cop, bad cop on us. Do the Republicans push the tax cuts? Yes. Is it almost always under Republican administrations? Yes. Do they ever balance the budget? No, never.
So do you think that like the idea that employers who have a lot of money, that they provide jobs and that's a way to give back to the poor, do you buy into any of that concept at all?
No.
I mean, as like entrepreneurs who are going out to innovate, I'm a classroom teacher, so like I go out trying to build entrepreneurs who can employ people and do something like that. Isn't that something that...
You're a classroom teacher and you try to build entrepreneurs? Sounds like you sell scam workshops.
Entrepreneurial spirit can be more aligned with the conservatives, would you say?
No, I don't agree. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a small business. And so they are always talking about small businesses. And then they immediately change the goalpost to cuts on capital gains. Wait, that has nothing to do with small business. Cuts on estate tax, that's for the super rich. That has nothing to do with small businesses. So, brother, they use small business as like a marketing tool. Oh, we're for the average American. We're for small business. Then the actual tax cuts are for the mega rich and for the mega corporations.
What about minimum wage? Like, as a business owner, you know like the repercussions of minimum wage. I haven't been to McDonald's in a while. I went. It's been years. I went, and it's just a screen. You know, like there is that element, you know, of the minimum wage raising and that leading to more unemployment.
Yeah, so I don't agree with that either. Okay. So first of all, everything it requires bounds. So you can't have a $100 minimum wage. I get that, right? But having said that, are we anywhere near where we should be on minimum wage? No, we're at $7.25 federally on minimum wage. That is a disaster. And so what that is if you work every single day, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks, no vacation at all, you only make $15,000 at $7.25. No one can live on $15,000. So when you push up minimum wage, what it does is it pushes up all wages. And that is a good thing, not a bad thing. They always tell you, no, give it to the corporations and then it'll trickle all over you decades later. No, there's an economics called middle out. And what that does is it gives directly to the middle class. And then they spend it more and it creates a better economy, especially for small businesses like yours and mine, et cetera. So there's a way to do this. It gives to the average guy first, but the Republicans never do that. They always push for tax cuts for the richest people in the country.
So do you believe that the populist element of Trump, where a lot of the working class, they're like, I know he's a Yankee with gold toilets, but I'm going to vote for him because he's not like vilifying me. Do you think that they're just being manipulated by Trump?
Yeah, 100%. So look, I don't want people manipulated. That's why I do things like this. I don't want you getting manipulated by the politicians on either side. In a time where we have massive deficits and a $38 trillion debt, why are we giving another $1.1 trillion to people making over $500,000? It doesn't make sense.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother.
What? This guy didn't even get to talk. Okay.
I'm Elijah.
Hey, Elijah. Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you, too. Do Republicans care about the rich? I do think they care about the rich. Coming from somebody that voted for Trump, I do believe that. But I do think that they do support middle-class Americans, especially Trump. I think this big, beautiful bill, people say it's hurting Americans. If you actually read through it, I'm getting a 3% reduction on my yearly income tax.
He should ask, how much money? You're getting a 3% reduction on your yearly income tax. What do you make? Let's assume you make $100K let's assume that the effective tax rate you pay after all your deductions and everything, I don't know, let's say you pay $30K in taxes at the end of the day. It's going to be higher or lower depending. If you save 3%, what would the, I wonder what he means 3% of all of his taxable income could be 3K versus $900. I wonder if it's even that much. What was the, actually, we could just look it up. Hey, Grok. Let's assume I make $100,000 a year, live on my own in the state of Texas, and earn all of my money as W-2 earnings. Can you tell me how much money I can expect to save, or how much money I am saving on my taxes due to the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act? Question mark. Okay. He'll tell us. He'll give us the answer. Don't worry.
Tax bracket is getting some type of reduction on their income tax or a 0% reduction, and that's for the wealthiest class. So that is helping middle class. Also, I know that the deficit's going up. Think about ICE. He's putting more money into ICE. I would argue that stopping immigration actually, or enforcing it even more heavily, helps the middle class worker in America. There's less jobs that are being taken. When you import a bunch of people, like, your housing costs are going to go up. It's inflating the people that need houses in a city, or apartments or whatever. It is taking jobs for middle class to lower class people like me. It's taking jobs.
Unfortunately, some of your premises are wrong. So when you take the whole bill, including the cuts to Medicaid and SNAP and other cuts, the bottom 30% actually wind up paying more than they did before.
I mean, that's
so they're literally taking from the bottom 30% and giving it to the top 10%.
I mean, but when you talk about SNAP, that's people that are already taking from all of us. So
okay, see, that's your point of view as a Republican. You know, the least popular part of the bill, the poll just came out. Only 24%, maybe even lower, support cutting SNAP. It is the single most unpopular part of the bill. Overall, Americans do not want you to take from people who desperately need food just to give to people making above $500,000. The second most unpopular part of the bill is the one that gives to people above $500,000. So people don't want that. So the bottom 30% are very badly hurt by this bill. What you're talking about is the middle 10% gets a 0.4% bump. That's again the nickels and dimes that they throw you.
But that's not in the bill.
Republicans throw nickels and dimes at you, 5 to 10% change in their tax cuts, and the Democrats through their policies throw 5 to 10% change at you.
If you don't think that a nickel and dime can help somebody in a dire situation,
but brother,
yes,
why do we have to help the rich even more? Why?
What?
Bump. That's again the nickels and dimes that they throw you.
But that's not in the bill.
The Republicans throw nickels and dimes at you, 5 to 10% change in their tax cuts, and the Democrats through their policies throw 5 to 10% change at you.
If you don't think that a nickel and dime can help somebody in a dire situation,
but brother,
yes,
why do we have to help the rich even more? Why do they get the biggest tax cuts? You know, you could do a tax cut without one going to the rich. You could say, hey, I'm capping it at $400,000.
When you own the business and you get a tax cut, you have more money to spend on your employees. I understand that's a Reaganomics principle, but it could be. And when you import, and when you're a Democrat, and you import.
What? Cenk has a business. Have you ever filed? What even is this stupid form? Is it 1120S or whatever for business taxes for LLCs? You don't hire more people when the tax rate goes down. Why would you do that? I've repeated this a million times. Employees are a cost of doing business. You never want to spend money on labor. It's bad. It is bad. It is a cost of doing business. You always want to minimize this expense. The only time you hire more workers is if you have more to sell and you can make more money with them.
Import all these people from third world countries, you're paying them under minimum wage because you see them as the help. Well, yeah, that's gonna benefit you. But when Republicans stop this and they force people to, that work, like to be citizens, or they want people to be citizens, they're being forced to at least earn minimum wage.
The reason why we've never fixed the immigration problem is because corporations want cheaper
that's
labor.
Awful, which is why
and we should fix that, but the Republicans and the Democrats never fix that.
And so our border crossings are almost at 0% right now.
The top 0.1% are going to get tens of thousands of dollars in tax breaks. But you're not explaining why they need that. They don't need that. Why do you know that oil companies get about $15 to $30 billion in subsidies every year? How come the Republicans never talk about that? Oh, we're going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, but you're not going to cut $30 billion to the richest companies in the world? How come Trump's not negotiating drug prices? How come Trump is...
I'm totally pulling this out of thin air, but intuitively, my guess is going to be like oil, like energy companies probably are on some of literally the thinnest margins of any company you could invest in, because this is like an insanely competitive, hyper-competitive international market. You're literally a fucking OPEC breathing down your neck on shit. Yeah, if you were going to subsidize anything else, domestic energy is probably one of the few things you probably want to subsidize to some extent. I would be shocked if these companies, I don't know, does ExxonMobil release, what are their profit margins? I'd be surprised if the profit margins on stuff like that are super high.
Best friends with Big Pharma, and he's not touching drug prices
at
all.
Yes, he is. He's matching them to Europe. Yes,
no,
he's got
that's
policies coming in.
Now that's a perfect example. He said that as an executive order, knowing that he did the same executive order in the first time around, and the courts knocked it down. He knows the courts are not going to do it. No, it is his fault.
Because hold on,
let me explain to you. So then what Ro Khanna did, he's a Democrat, he's really smart, he went and got a Republican co-sponsor, said, let's take the executive order and turn it into a bill. Verbatim, Trump's executive order. All of a sudden, Trump and the Republicans not in favor of the bill. Oh, there you go. It was a trick all along.
Got him. Okay, this says that I would save $2,416 as a 100K earner with the Trump tax cuts. But the bulk is probably coming from the increase of the standard deduction. That would be my guess. So from $16,030 to $13,614. You shouldn't have said 3%. A 3% savings. Maybe he meant 3% is like nothing at that level. This would be like a 20% savings, I think. 15%. When you're talking about big increases in like the standard deduction, don't ever argue that poor people haven't saved money on their taxes with the Trump tax cuts. They absolutely have. It was one of the reasons why it was popular in the first term when he did it, is because that actually is a thing that people saw. They did get money back. There was savings there. Don't ever argue that they didn't save money on it. The argument is that the bulk of the money saved, though, not per person, but as a totality of like income taxes paid to the federal government, it's probably going towards far wealthier people. That's the issue.
How you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing?
I work in Republican politics. One of the first jobs I took was in a small district, but it was in Lucas County, Ohio, and it was a poor district. And I was representing a Republican. When my candidate would go and we'd be knocking doors together talking about how he wanted to improve their lives, is he an anomaly, or are you only talking about federal?
Yeah. So
like, where do we draw the line
Wait,
there?
what?
Lucas County, Ohio, and politics. One of the first jobs I took was in a small district, but it was in Lucas County, Ohio, and it was a poor district. And I was representing a Republican. When my candidate would go and we'd be knocking doors together talking about how he wanted to improve their lives, is he an anomaly, or are you only talking about federal?
Yeah. So
like, where do we draw the line here?
So first of all, are there some good guys in politics? Very rare, but yes, I think Bernie Sanders is a good guy. I think Rogan is a good guy. By the way, I think Thomas Massey is honest, and he's a Republican, right?
Fair.
I don't agree with his policies, but I think he's honest. But there again, it's an exception. So if you tell me, no, trust me, the politician I worked with was great. Were you there when he was talking to the donors?
He didn't have any.
The donors. I cummed.
Okay, well then I believe.
Well, that's.
Can I get somebody to email me a clip of Cenk screaming donor class? Like, I want a screaming like donor class.
The problem is when we go down the ladder, where 90% of the elections that take place in this country, they're not at the federal level. They're not with politicians that are receiving hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars.
Yeah, they get bought for cheaper. They get bought for $5,000, $10,000.
Or is it possible that they want to step in and govern?
So, brother, I hear what you're saying. You're saying that the closer you get to the voters, the more honest they are. That's actually true. Look.
Okay. I appreciate that.
So number one.
So you're saying some Republicans do.
Can I just explain?
Yeah,
so if you're doing a small seat as a city council, you actually knock on doors. That's why progressives win a lot of the city council seats, because the election is with such a small number of people. You don't need can I just let me finish? So that way you don't need as much money. You don't need donors. They're more responsive to their actual voters. The larger you get, once you get to a congressional district with 750,000, the donor money decides how much ads you can take and whether you're going to win or not. So then they become completely beholden to the donors.
What about
so when you're talking about, hey,
what about all these people that spend more money and lose, though? How do we account for that? Did Mamdani spend more or less than Cuomo in New York City? And the Jews control that place too, so he should be extra triggered.
Really low-level Republicans that yet have not gotten a lot of donor cash, and you say, well, look, hey, don't worry, they'll stay true, but they never do. When they move up to the next level, they immediately, even if they were true at the lower level,
not true.
99% of them, other than Massey, they take the donor money and they do exactly what the donors tell them to do.
It's just a simple misunderstanding or an oversimplification of our system. And
all right.
Damn, the people really don't like this topic. I feel like people are getting voted out hella fast.
Hey, good to meet you, brother.
All right, so I'm glad you clarified already. You're talking about Republican politicians. And you brought up donor money, and I know that's a big issue with you. But I think that's just not really how it works. I think you have a lot of politicians that start off, as you said, kind of in those lower levels. They do an office here, they do a job here, and then they slowly rise up. And if you can track their views, you see that their views don't actually really change a whole lot over time. When the donor money comes in, it's not like they suddenly change their views and they're a completely new person. They've had the views that they've had for a very, very long time. So how can you...
Donors tend to back people that agree with them anyway. But I mean, if you just think about it for a second, it kind of makes sense. Right? If I'm super Jewish and there's some election coming up, and there's a guy that's like super pro-Israel and a guy that's super anti-Israel, I'm not giving money to the anti-Israel guy to change his view. I'm just going to donate to the pro-Israel candidate, right?
You sit here, Cenk, and look in your crystal ball and say, oh, I know I can look into the souls of Republicans and say, oh, well, they're not actually genuine in some of these proposals.
Yeah. So let's take an example of a person who doesn't have a soul, Ted Cruz.
You know that? You know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Okay, I think.
Based. That was the only based thing he said all show, but he said, I'm kidding.
Okay, so listen, he says to Tucker Carlson recently, yes, I've taken millions from AIPAC, but I just happen to have that position. I had it earlier. I mean, I know that AIPAC would give me millions of dollars if I say, let's give billions back from the American taxpayer to AIPAC.
Like the defeater for his argument right here is, has AIPAC ever offered you money to change your view on anything, ever?
Let's make sure we support all their wars. Let's fight all their wars for them. Oh, look at that. I happen to agree with my donors. Hey, listen, when I started out, I really wanted to give $30 billion in subsidies to oil companies, and I still want to give $30 billion.
How do you know Ted Cruz lying? How do you know that?
Okay, but even in that scenario, think about it, brother.
No.
He's not even going to answer the question.
Oh, hold on, I'm answering your question.
Okay.
You're saying, okay, so in the hypothetical where we have, first of all, in the real world, there's 330 million people in the country, right? Sure. So you're saying maybe like the oil subsidy loving guys, or we're all Republicans to begin with, and the Republicans all love oil subsidies.
Well, or they come from states, like, wasn't this a big thing for Manchin or whatever? You come from states that have heavy investment in oil stuff. Those people tend to vote a certain way and tend to support certain people. Yeah, that's kind of how it works, right?
So it's just organic. No, brother, they're finding just a handful of people in the country that'll raise their hand and go, yes, I will do whatever corporate donors want. I will do whatever the rich want. Okay. And they go, there's a guy who agrees with me. Let's give him money. Let's give him $5,000 in the beginning, then $50,000 later, then $500,000 later.
So you didn't actually answer my question, Cenk.
What is the question?
So how do you know that Ted Cruz is being disingenuous about his views on Israel? You still haven't answered the question.
That's the easiest question in the world.
If it's so easy, then answer it for me.
Okay, so you're saying your hypothesis.
Why can't he answer the question? Hello?
My hypothesis is Ted Cruz and the politicians take millions of dollars from donors and do exactly.
Is he trying to actually stall it until the guy gets voted off? Is he going to answer this question? This is, by the way, this question would be like a fundamental cornerstone question to Cenk's entire fourth grade worldview on how politics works.
As they're ordered, and how do I know that? Because their voting record matches with their donors perfectly. You're saying, but maybe there's a hypothetical 1% to 2% chance that Ted Cruz just was born out of the womb loving.
That's not 1% to 2% chance that he was born out of the womb loving Israel. What is this hyperbole? What the like? I like how the lobbying conversation is so brain broken. It's like, you're telling me, okay. So in my world, obviously, right? In my world, donor walks in and completely, totally buys out a guy's entire voter thing. He controls every single vote he does, obviously. It's obviously how it works, okay? It's not like there's ever past statements, social media statements, things that he ran on. No. Donor class comes in, they buy it out completely, they make up for everything, okay? You're telling me that what? They find people who already basically agree with them and give money to the campaign? Cenk sounds like the bug guy from Men in Black. Cenk sounds like this when he's debating.
A man came in here earlier, a dead man.
And that means what to me?
He was a very dear friend of mine. I believe he had an animal with him. It was a gift I gave him. A pet cat. It means worlds to me. I'd like to have it back.
Israel's wars. And he's like, I can't wait to give money to Israel. Whereas, look at that. What a coincidence. AIPAC is giving me millions of dollars for.
I actually, in politics, try to assume good.
What a coincidence that they happen to be giving me money on an issue that I agree with them on. Like, here's a question. Cenk has real world political experience. Cenk, when you ran for office in California, did AIPAC try to give you money? Or, Cenk, you sponsored with Kulinski and the other guy, the Justice Dems, right? Did you try to give money to Republicans to switch them to be Justice Dems? Or did you find people who already largely agreed with you?
Intentions on both sides. Well, sure, you can say that's a mistake, but I also try to make claims with evidence. And all you've said is, he gets all this money from AIPAC, therefore he's corrupt. So as opposed to, how do you know that?
It is unbelievably, deeply unserious to me that Cenk cannot answer this question. This is a cornerstone question to his entire worldview, and he actually can't engage with it at all.
Cruz did not have these views before, and that AIPAC wanted to support him because of the views he already had.
So your thesis is that all of the Republicans that take hundred.
Hold on. He has to phrase it in the most ridiculous way possible. He has to phrase it in such a crazy way. So your view is that all 1.5 million Armenians that got killed, all of them were killed by Turkey? All of them? Really?
Yeah, your thesis is all of these Republicans take hundreds of millions of dollars from donors. They do exactly what the donors say, but they already believed in all of the things that the donors wanted earlier, so it's just a happy coincidence.
No, it makes perfect sense.
And by the way, the mainstream media totally agrees with you.
It makes perfect sense in my mind that these organizations...
He's not even going to get to finish this argument because he's already voted off.
Would only be giving money to people that they know support
Already
the
agree with
cause.
him.
That's how they cherry pick out of 330 million people.
Crazy,
So,
wild
okay,
thing
let me tell you how politics actually
think.
works.
No,
A donor walks in
okay,
this room.
Can you please answer my question?
So
what evidence do you have?
So you're saying
that
I don't
Ted
have
Cruz
evidence of Ted? I can't read Ted Cruz's mind.
He should just ask him. This isn't Canby. That's the other guy. I knew this guy's name. This guy is on like every Jubilee show. He should just ask Cenk, when you ran, did Big Oil offer to sponsor your campaign? Was there a donor class for you that came up? No, because they're not going to waste their time because they know that you don't agree with them.
Okay, so brother, by your thesis, you can't read Joe Biden's mind. You can't read Kamala Harris's mind. So they're all innocent. They're all angels. Oh my God, they're money.
This is supposed to be about Republicans, by the way, but good job.
Isn't affecting any of them.
Oh, Micah.
Yes,
because I can't read their mind.
I've never said Joe Biden's a bad person.
I can read their voting record. I can read their voting record. I could read their donations.
He's just said over and over and over again. I can read their voting record.
Secrets tells you sound exactly like mainstream media. These politicians are honorable.
You're operating
and they
based
just
off
happen to
feelings
agree
alone.
with the donors that gave them hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Cenk, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So you are claiming that Republicans only care about the rich. When Donald Trump and both Elon Musk lost money while they were in office. And then on top of it, you can shake your head no. On top of it, why would you say...
Donald Trump absolutely didn't. I think Elon might be profitable now, but it has less to do with, I think whatever he lost in Tesla, he made up with and the XAI bullshit or whatever.
That when currently we have, I know you keep saying it's some pressure valve, but we have them actually fighting for working class people by giving them less taxes on tips, less taxes on overtime.
Yeah. So first of all, Donald Trump has made a tremendous amount of money, and his family has. So right after he left office the first time, his son-in-law got a $2 billion deal from the Saudis, and he was in charge of our policy towards Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. That's a disaster. That's Hunter Biden on steroids. So in this time around, he has a meme coin. He's got World Liberty Financial. People are pouring money in. One guy put in $75 million, and then look at that. He stopped an investigation from the SEC about that guy.
Let's talk about how he's helping middle class people.
At least three white-collar criminals who donated either to his campaign or to his meme coin. And then he got a $400 million jet from Qatar.
Let's talk about how he's helping middle class people.
Okay.
So what if Democrats...
So you're ignoring all the money that he made from that. And I'm answering your question. Elon Musk, by the way, lost hundreds of billions of dollars from
and his
Golden
Tesla
Dome.
stock went down dramatically.
Well, that's his fault.
Sure, so he lost money is what you're saying.
No. But remember,
but it was his fault.
Why did Musk and Trump get into a fight? Because Trump did not put in the electric vehicle mandate and the subsidy that Elon wanted.
Sure.
Elon said,
Elon lost money.
So Elon...
This is why, for however many of you listen to me, this is why you can't just do the class analysis and the money when you're trying to figure out how politics work. You think the only reason that Elon and Trump are fighting is because Elon didn't get subsidies for Tesla?
Talk about how he's helping middle class people.
At least three white-collar criminals who donated either to his campaign or to his meme coin. And then he got a $400 million jet from Qatar.
Let's talk about how he's helping middle class people.
Okay.
So what if Democrats...
So you're ignoring all the money that he made from that. And I'm answering your question. Elon Musk, by the way, lost hundreds of billions of dollars from Golden Dome.
And his Tesla stock went down dramatically.
Well, that's his fault.
Sure, so he lost money is what you're saying.
No. But remember,
but it was his fault.
Why did Musk and Trump get into a fight? Because
why did Musk and Trump get into a fight?
Trump did not put in the electric vehicle mandate and the subsidy that Elon wanted.
Sure. I hope I wonder if he's feeling stupid. That's an unbelievably crazy analysis. You've missed 95. I don't even know. This is like less than Asmongold level of insight into politics. If you think that the main explainer between the rift between Elon and Trump was because Elon didn't get the EV credit. I don't even know if Elon originally wanted the EV credit. What an unbelievably retarded analysis of that entire schism.
Sure. Elon said,
Elon lost money.
So Elon gave $300 million, and he's like, now I want that subsidy. That's going to get me billions back. Now I want Golden Dome. That's going to get me hundreds of billions of dollars back. And Trump said, I'm going to give you Golden Dome, but I'm not going to give you the subsidies.
What have Democrats done to help the middle class?
I'm going to give you Golden Dome.
That's going to get me hundreds of billions of dollars back. And Trump said, I'm going to give you Golden Dome, but I'm not going to give you the subsidies.
What have Democrats done to help the middle class with taxes?
That was a really smart marketing strategy by Donald Trump, and part of the reason that he won the election. So I remember we talked to somebody on the Young Turks, and he was down in Western Virginia, and he said, listen, Hillary Clinton tells us that all of our jobs are going to be gone. Donald Trump comes in and lies and tells us that he's going to bring back the jobs. But he's at least got the decency to lie to us.
Is it a lie, or is it what he's trying to do and just hasn't done it?
So 50%...
What have Democrats done to help me?
To be fair to the Democrats, as someone earlier said, in this case, they would at least protect Medicaid and SNAP cuts, okay? And so that goes to the bottom 30%.
So it's okay to give people free stuff, but not give working people reduction in taxes.
Free stuff. It's okay to give the rich tons of free tax cuts, tons of subsidies, but when you give it to someone who's starving, oh, no, that's a real problem.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said it's okay that you're giving them free stuff, but it's not okay to help me with my taxes.
So, brother, then answer this for me. Then why don't they only propose a tax cuts for the middle class? Why don't they say, hey, we're not going to cut from the poor, and we're not going to give to the rich. We're only going to do it for the middle class. Why don't they ever do that? From
what I understand, they're not cutting out the good parts of Medicaid. They're only cutting out the corruption and fraud. So you laugh at that. Is that okay? Can we agree that we should cut out fraud from Medicaid?
That is not what this is at all.
What do you mean it's not? There's tons of fraud.
The truism comes out. Shouldn't we get rid of fraud? Well, I mean, definitionally so, right?
No, here's a trick, okay? There's tons of fraud at the Pentagon.
You're
hundreds
right.
of millions of dollars of fraud at the Pentagon, and they added to the fraud.
Can you expound on the cause of the schism between Trump and Musk? I think the schism started to happen. I think it largely happened as a result of the fact that Musk, the Doge project, was completely ineffectual. I think Trump might have believed that it would have worked. Elon was stupid enough to think it would work, despite being a fucking retard. And then I think that the nail in the coffin for Elon was when Trump sent his little lackey Elon up north to Wisconsin, or west to Wisconsin, I think, to try to see if he had any pull in that election, and he got creamed. I think that they were just like done with him. And then Elon, being the unlikable, aspie autistic loser that he is, was making enemies of every single person inside of Trump's cabinet. Like every other semi-well-adjusted person there hated this like actual autistic loser nerd virgin. Actual virgin, by the way, because he takes of his balls with a turkey baster and shoots it up into these random Twitter influencers that happen to stroll into his apartment. And there was just so much conflict within the administration. There was so much conflict within even Doge's interactions with other parts of the administration. And then ultimately the nail in the coffin was Elon's, I think, ineffective politicking, that he couldn't actually get results when he needed to. And so they were just like, get this guy the fuck out of here.
It's not only Republicans helping the rich.
Here's what happened on Medicaid, okay? They say, okay, we need a work requirement, so we're going to cut 10 million people off of Medicaid. But Medicaid is for poor people. So if
they've been on it for 20 and 30 years.
The minute they get a job, they actually,
it's not a permanent thing.
Hold on, they make enough money to get out of Medicaid.
They don't.
So
they stay on it forever.
So that it's a trick that it eviscerates Medicaid.
But they haven't. There are people that stay on it for 10 years at a time.
You know that if you need Medicaid and you don't have health care through a job, and your kid gets cancer, we're going to let them die. Why?
I hope
because
that never
happens. That's not how that works. But okay, bro. True. That is how that works. Your kid just dies of cancer in the street. Yes.
It's going to happen, brother. According to estimates,
happen every day.
According to estimates, 70,000 people are going to die because of those Medicaid cuts.
Estimates.
And why?
So do you believe everything
because
you hear?
The tax cuts for the rich just needed to be larger and larger. 1.1
So what you're telling me
trillion in
is
tax
you're
cuts for
okay
the
with
rich.
fraud as long as people get the help they need.
I'm not okay with it, but they're not.
What is this?
The donor class.
This guy, I need one screaming more.
Cutting fraud. They're cutting the entire Medicaid.
So what you're telling me is you're okay with fraud as long as people get the help they need.
I'm not okay with it, but they're not cutting fraud. They're cutting the entire Medicaid.
Hey.
All right.
Well, they're not cutting the entire Medicaid, but.
My last claim is media and money control all of politics.
Base.
Good to see you.
Okay, so we disagree on the framing. We might not disagree on the substance. So when you say they control all of politics, I feel like that breeds a lot of cynicism, which is kind of my issue with populism. Is you tell these people like it's hopeless, corporations, media control all of it, but what's kind of implied in your premise.
Base. True. King. This is my king.
It's like media, for example. Media is effective because it influences the people who actually vote and have a lot of power. Same thing with super PACs. They're spending advertisements a lot of the time. So I think when you paint this narrative that they control all of it, disproportionate, yes, a lot more than they should, yes, we agree. Campaign finance reform, yes. I feel like a lot of people, especially my generation, just check out of politics. Like the corporations are going to do what they want to do. The media's going to do what they want to do. I'm just going to scroll on TikTok. And I feel like it's very damaging to our society.
Yeah. So number one, I'm a huge believer in hope. So I would never say don't get involved in politics. In fact, that's why I started Justice Democrats to bring progressives in the Congress. I started Wolf PAC to take money out of politics. And Rebellion PAC is saying, no, get involved. And that 2028 primary on the Democratic side is maybe the most important election of our lifetimes. We have to pick a populist so that we'll actually deliver for the American people. So if you deliver for the American people, if you stop lying to them and say you're going to do things and then never do it, if you actually do those things that are very, very popular, then you'll re-energize the entire voting
base. So when you say we need to pick a populist, is your definition of populism just like when good things happen, that's populism? Like,
no.
Is it conceivable?
Oh my God, base.
For there to be a candidate who is a great president, for example, but they're not necessarily a populist, or is that like necessitated?
So all populism means is serving the average guys as opposed to serving the corporate donors. So I'll give you no, it's not a marketing technique. It's very you're asking if it's vague or specific, and it couldn't be more specific. There's literally a populist plank on TYT.com, and that's the core of what our candidates run on Rebellion PAC, and those are 6 policies: money out of politics, anti-war, lower drug prices by negotiating at Medicare. By the way, lower housing prices by banning private equity from buying residential real estate.
Which would do fuck all for housing prices.
They're robbing us,
except for maybe like in Atlanta, maybe,
of our wealth creation in this country. That's going to destroy the middle class. So paid family leave, again, these are very easy to pass. If you say you can't pass at 84%, then you can't pass anything.
But we don't pass
and
things
yes,
through public
higher
opinion
wages.
polls. We don't pass things through public opinion polls. You need people to get in.
Did this guy go back into the past and listen to me between like 20, like I gave commentary yesterday and then he traveled into the future to listen to it. And now we're at the last half of this video and he just deployed that. Yes, we do not pass policy in this country with nationwide opinion polls. True.
Involved on a very granular level sometimes. Like, for example, paid family leave. There's different ways to fund that. There's different amounts that can cover different amounts of months. I agree we need it. It's a very good policy. If you advocate for it properly, it will win. But this goes back to my...
never do.
But this goes back to my initial problem.
Why do they never do that?
Who?
Why do
they never do that? Because the corporate donors don't want that. Why? Why don't the corporate donors? Why does this fucking sack of shit think that everybody hates this fucking country as much as him and the other crazy commie and Nazi fucks do? Like, is there no chance at all that donors would want at least a little bit of good stuff for the country? Maybe just a little bit. wouldn't want everybody to die, want kids to die of cancer on the fucking street? Is that possible? Never mind. That's crazy. Just kidding. Donors are evil. He is definitionally a donor, and he's part of the donor class, by the way, in the worst way possible, if you believe him, right? He owns a media company that took a $20 million equity buy from some investor. We don't have any public information about what was involved in that. He supported politicians to run for office. We have no clue what's actually secretly powering him behind the people that have massive equity in the Young Turks. Like, this is like the worst kind of person in his eyes, but I guess we're just supposed to overlook all of that.
Why do the Democrats never fight for a bill at 84%?
I think the Democrats right now are extremely spineless. We don't disagree on that.
All right, good. But do you know why they're spineless? Because their donors told them to be spineless.
I think they're also very scared. They're very risk averse.
Brother, let me just say
Democrats are risk averse. That's the actual problem.
No, I think the real problem is when you're at the top.
The problem is the donors. It's not the risk averse. It's the donors. It's always the donors.
You don't want anything to change. You want the status quo to remain the same. That is why mainstream media and establishment Democrats and Republicans say.
By the way, the elected politicians are not at the top, right? It's probably people that work in media are more at the top. It wouldn't like Cenk is worth more on average than the average senator or congressman in the United States, like 100 million%. But
Civility is the most important thing, because if you're civil, you don't rock the boat. Why don't they want you to rock the boat? Because it's their boat. Okay,
this is just such an oversimplification.
It is not an oversimplification.
It is.
I can show you the
You
donors
have to beat
and the
Thanos
results
and
every
everything's
single time. Do you know that in legislation on the Young Turks, we predict ahead of time what's going to happen? We have nearly 100% track record. You know why? Not because we're geniuses, but because it's super easy. Look at where most of the money is, and that side wins 100% of the time.
Like, there's no evidence of that whatsoever. But okay.
That's like very paradigm changing. It's just super easy. Is that your position?
So things like paid family leave, but again, anything.
It can't even be 100% of the time based on what he's saying, because remember, they have the pressure valve sometimes to make us happy so we don't commit a violent revolution, you know?
Which is complicated. You agree that's complicated, right?
No, I don't
like
think
how
it's
to actually
complicated
structure
at all.
Where's the funding coming from? How many months are covered?
Yeah, I get it. There's different issues you have to
That's what all the
adjudicate.
disagreement negotiation
Hold on. Let me
happens in
answer this. Let me answer this. Okay. So the earlier guy asked, would I bully the politicians? Absolutely. Why? Because I want to bully them and it makes me feel good. No, it's for a purpose. Although it's kind of fun. Okay, but it's for a purpose, brother. If you're voting against 84% of Americans, you're a traitor. You're a traitor to your voters. So why? And then I'm asking a question of them. Why are you voting against 84% of the voters? If you're a Democrat, you're voting against 90% of your voters. If you're a Republican, you're voting against 74% of your voters. I know why you're voting against them, because the donors told you vote against the American people. It is that simple. But you want to defend politicians for no reason. They're not your friends. They're not your allies.
It's not just a piece of paper that says paid family leave. There's stuff that goes into it that's complicated. Appreciate it.
Pleasure to meet you, Cenk.
All right, good to meet you, brother. I like your shirt.
Thank you, people over politics. So I do agree with you that money has a control over politics. We see super PAC spending, we see Mitch McConnell and longtime figures, 40 years in politics, and I'm pretty sure everyone's just sick of it. I don't agree with on the media half, and I kind of want to explain why. A lot of people don't tune into mainstream media anymore, and I'm sure you know this. You run one of the biggest progressive channels on YouTube, but it's hard to see media having this big influence when so many people are tapped out. So I'm kind of wanting to understand why you think it's.
They spent $16 billion at a minimum in this last election cycle. Where did most of that money go? It went to mainstream media. Okay, so
supporting who? Kamala or Trump?
So mainstream media has 16 billion reasons to make sure you don't find out that the donor money is corrupting. Okay.
I'm just kidding. It's all the same shit anyway. My bad.
So now, what is the effect of that? So when you see in the 2016 race, for example, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, right? Now, Donald Trump eventually got about $5 billion in free media. And now, to be fair to him, he did a lot of interviews and Hillary decided not to do a lot of interviews. But a part of that was the media's decision. You know how much, before the primaries ended, Trump had already gotten $2 billion in free media, right? Do you know how much Bernie Sanders had gotten? $28 million. About what, I think 1% of what Trump had gotten, because mainstream media thinks that Bernie Sanders would actually do change, and they don't want change. They're all at the top. Almost all the anchors are millionaires. And the last thing they want is a left-wing populist who's actually going to make a difference. Oh, fake populists like Trump, no problem. Send in the clowns. Establishment Democrats and Republicans, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, both raised $1 billion from corporate donors and have done exactly what the corporate donors want. They're like, that's great. Let's pump them up. But whenever you got a real challenge to power, mainstream media attacks.
Speaking on the terms of left-wing media, if you consider your networks like, I guess MSNBC, if we're going to classify that as left, CNN, kinda. I don't think these are the type of networks that would completely destroy and eviscerate a liberal candidate. Think about someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Think about somebody like Jamie Raskin. If they were going to be in a primary, I don't think that you're going to see a whole smorgasbord just go after them right now. I'm pretty sure you would have seen CNN or MSNBC's coverage tilt favorably towards them compared to someone like Donald Trump if they would have been nominated in this type of election.
That's actually not true. MSNBC is the biggest opponent of progressive populists in the Democratic Party. Whenever, like when Bernie was about to win after he won the first 3 states in 2020,
he's going to bring up the one guy who said, this is like the when the Nazi Party took over. Who was it on MSNBC? It's not Scarborough or whatever, was it?
And they sent out Chuck Todd, Chris Matthews, and others to say if Bernie wins, he's a communist that'll start executions in Central Park. He said that's what Chris Matthews said. Chuck Todd.
Chris Matthews. Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. I think, right?
About his followers being brown shirts. I said in the beginning of that campaign, the people in power will be so opposed to Bernie that by the end they'll call him anti-Semitic. And they called him anti-Semitic, okay, even though he's Jewish. So on AOC, no one covered her in mainstream media before her historic primary win. We covered her 34 times. So the reason for that is because, yes, some parts of media now are better, to your original point. Independent media is better. For all its problems and warts and et cetera, it's at least opening up the discussion to more free thought and getting people thinking. But mainstream media has you inside these tiny guardrails, and the minute you step outside of it, and populist left always steps out of it and says, why don't we deliver for the American people? I'll give you one last example. Those guys attack. So when Biden went to do student debt relief, Stephanie Ruhle did so Fox News did segments on it, against it, CNN did segments against it, and then Stephanie Ruhle on MSNBC did a segment against it, because that's an economic issue. The minute it's an economic issue, they all circle the wagons, and they play good cop, bad cop, and they all say no.
Pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you, brother.
Hi, Preston. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I think I really want to focus a lot on the media part with you, just because mainly for the fact that I think we can all unbiasedly agree that, let's be honest, Trump during his whole election campaign, it was very anti-Trump, very pro-Democrat, and how he was the absolute just most terrible thing that could happen if he gets voted in as basically a threat to our democracy. And so when it comes to that, and everything, let's be honest, very high percentage was very negative towards him. How can you explain the outcome if the media controls everything when it comes to elections and politics?
Yeah, so...
It's always an exception. There was always an exception. He broke through because his messaging was so popular or something. I don't know. There's always a reason why.
That's a great question, and so I want to get asked often. So when you talk about money in politics, it controls almost all the races, but the ones that are the smallest, it controls the most, because there's almost no media coverage of a Montana congressional race. So whoever has more money wins. In fact, in congressional races, whoever has more money wins 95% of the time. But the one giant exception...
Who gets more money donated to them, though, right? Like, you have to be careful not to put the cart before the horse here. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Like it's like saying that, like, if you look at gym programs, like the people with the more muscles always seem to be able to do the bigger programs or whatever. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, they're hogging all the good, like, or maybe people do programs to get bigger muscle. Like, people put the cart before the horse on all of these. Like, if somebody is more popular, they're going to get more donations. Like, that's just a fact of life. Look at Bernie Sanders got more, I think, more total donations, I think, than Hillary Clinton in 2016 in the primary season, right? And in 2020, he might have as well. If you're more popular, you get more donations. Just because you got more donations doesn't mean that you've become more popular. It just means you might already be more popular.
All the races, but the ones that are the smallest, it controls the most.
Now, not to say that that's necessarily like that. I'm not saying that money's not a factor at all, but it's just such an amateurish, childish analysis.
There's almost no media coverage of a Montana congressional race. So whoever has more money wins. In fact, in congressional races, whoever has more money wins 95% of the time. But the one giant exception is presidential races, because there's so much free media in presidential races and everyone is paying attention. So you can actually go the route of going to media yourself and making your own argument. That's why I thought Trump would win in 2016. That's why I was really worried about it in 2024, because Democrats have become like corporate talking point robots, the establishment Democratic politicians. So they don't like to engage with Joe Rogan or these other folks. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're giving away billions of dollars in free media. Trump had the right strategy. But at the end of the day, because he was all over media and he got billions of dollars in extra media coverage, that is part of the reason.
By the way, when you say billions of dollars in free media, you're very much giving away the game here. You're very much playing a game. If you say the only thing that matters in life is money, and then somebody's like, what about like pussy? You can buy pussy with money. Oh, what about like a happy family? There's a store where you can buy a family. Oh, well, I mean, I guess if you find a way to reduce literally everything to money, well, then I guess you're kind of right at that point. But that's kind of like saying that like the only thing that matters in life is being able to speak. And I was like, really? What about like paying your rent? Well, if you can speak, you can get a job and say words to get money to pay your rent. Oh, well, what about eating healthy? Well, if you speak the right order at a restaurant or speak the right thing at a store, then you can get the right groceries. Like, it's so reductionist, right? He's saying the only thing that matters is money. Well, what about the presidential election where money is not the most important thing? Well, it's money's worth of media. Okay, but they're not paying money for it. So definitionally, there's something else at play there, right? He's like playing a game to make everything money even when it's not money by converting it to money. Like, if you put a common denominator under anything, then you can make everything have a common denominator. But you're not saying anything insightful or meaningful there.
I like to engage with Joe Rogan or these other folks. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're giving away billions of dollars in free media. Trump had the right strategy. But at the end of the day, because he was all over media and he got billions of dollars in extra media coverage, that is part of the reason why he won.
While media has influence and everything else, it still comes down to the individuals to vote. So whenever it comes down to that, then how can you explain they still have control, even though at the end of the day, it's still the individual's right and the individual's ability to go vote and make
Because how does anything ever get into your head? So like when you go into a voting booth, you see names, right? But if you never saw that person and you never heard their name because they didn't have enough money for ads and the media didn't cover it, that person has no chance of winning. It's like there's a mythology in mainstream media that two people go into an octagon and then people decide which one is better, right? That's not how it actually works.
To be able to see all of these things.
Damn, these motherfuckers getting voted off fast.
Nice to meet you.
All right.
They're done. I guess everybody's just done hearing anybody talk. They're just like, get them out of here.
Hey, nice to meet you. Kyle?
Yeah, so I think money doesn't necessarily have a mind, so I'd like to kind of take it to who's making the decisions on how to allocate the capital. And so does party loyalty here play at all, right? Like, at the end of the day, you're going to have politicians who can influence where that capital is coming from, and if you're towing the party line, saying what they want you to say, that to me seems more impactful than the ability to go and find donors yourself to raise a significant capital to win a race.
So let me give you a couple of examples. So Ted Cruz got $13 million from the Mercer family when he was running for president in 2016. Sure. If you remember, Donald Trump insulted his wife, so at the Republican National Convention, Ted Cruz did not endorse him. But right afterwards, he changed his mind and started phone backing for Donald Trump. What happened in between? What happened in between is after his speech, he went up to the suites that the Mercer family had at the convention, and they slammed the door in his face. And they said, we now have a new guy that we're picking. It's like the Hunger Games. So
No, it's because he wanted to continue his life in politics. And you generally you have to support the political leaders, but especially in MAGA, you have to support Trump. It's a fucking cult. You support him because you want to win your re-election. Oh my God, dude.
So the sponsors decided that they were going to go with Donald Trump now. So Ted Cruz, realizing I'm going to lose my donor money if I don't do as I'm told, said, I'm so sorry. And then he grabbed the phone and was like, oh yeah, Donald Trump is the best. Forget about my wife. Who cares about her? Why? Because he's going to seek the donor money. But you can do it on both sides. Look,
Why does Bernie Sanders always support the candidate? Why does AOC always support the candidate? Are they bought out by donor money as well? Please, somebody ask that. Please, God, nobody's going to ask that.
Yeah, Mo Brooks, for example, is a Republican who was running for Senate in Alabama. And he gave a speech where he said, look, in order to become a chairman of a committee, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have to raise $1 million. But you cannot raise it from John and Jane Doe. So you raise it from the industry you're supposed to be regulating with the implicit promise that you do not regulate them and you give them whatever you want. So in order to be a committee chairman, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you must take what is a campaign contribution, but really a bribe from that industry and make sure you protect that.
I think it's a cynical view that the...
Yes, it is. And it's true.
Again, I think what we're talking about is to what degree does the political structure and government structure just enable, right? Like, I don't think like a claim around Republicans only caring about the poor, or not caring about the poor, only caring about the rich. Are they just acknowledging the practical reality of in order to facilitate a successful race, you have to raise capital, so you have to please donors. So they're not evil.
So when do we ever get pleased? Like, they don't need to be evil. They don't need to be evil. They could just be like, hey, I want status. I want to be a senator. So I'm going to take 13 million here, 10 million there, et cetera, and then I'm going to serve the donors. Yeah, you could say it's necessary, but that's why this system sucks. That's why
13 million here, 10 million there.
We need to change it and get money out of politics. If you get money out of politics, then they have to serve the voters and be our representatives instead of the representatives of the donors.
In terms of the solutions here, though, money will always play a role in politics. Is there a practical reality where you think money is not going to play a role in?
Yes. So between 1938 and 1978, bribery was illegal. And in that 40 years, we built the greatest middle class the world has ever seen. Was our system perfect? No. But productivity went way up, and so did wages. In
1978,
the Supreme Court...
It doesn't have to come from bribery.
Yeah, campaign contributions,
when
they're coming from corporate donors,
if you're pissing off rich donors, they can still pour money into media campaigns to influence the outcomes of the elections. So, like, money, practically speaking, I just don't see how you ever get to a point where money is not at all influential in a political race.
Yeah, so don't give up hope. So can you do it? Of course you can, because we had it. We had it between 38 and 78. We did, and it led to the greatest middle class. It led to the best economy.
Did social media exist in that period of time?
So but social media is better than mainstream media.
But you're taking a historical period where today...
So you're saying just give up. Don't even try to take donor money out.
I'm saying there are things that you can make progress on today, but I'm saying practically speaking,
I think you can get a constitutional amendment. You know why I think you can get a constitutional amendment to get money out of politics? Because 93% of Americans believe that politicians represent their donors and not their voters. All right, thank you.
No.
Hey there.
We've met a long time ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, you look familiar.
So on the local level, right, LA City Council could upzone everything. Let construction companies, property management companies come in, wholesale develop, build massive apartment buildings, run these properties, right? LA City Council has not done that. Are you saying development companies, real estate companies, and property management companies are not moneyed interests?
No, that's amazing that you picked that example. There's two industries that are the most impactful on local and state races. It's utility companies and real estate companies. So real estate companies totally own New York and California, even though they're Democratic. So Andrew Cuomo, when he was governor, passed a whole bunch of things. There were tax breaks for real estate companies, and it didn't help the average person at all. In California, we raised $24 billion to help the homeless, and homelessness went up 53%. Why? Because they do things like, oh no, we're going to have more affordable housing, and then they build high-rises that are for super rich people, and then you don't get the affordable housing, and homelessness goes up.
They don't build. Because if you live on a block of single...
Oh, Drank's about to get super triggered. This guy sounds like they don't build. He sounds like an abundance guy. Drank's about to lose his mind. Uh-oh.
Family housing, okay? And city council makes it so that next to your house, some company could come in, destroy it, build a huge apartment complex on your block. People hate it. NIMBYism is real. No one wants that on their block. And city council doesn't want to freak out their voters. Like, there's this thing called like politics where they don't want to massively upset people. So they don't rock...
There's this other thing called the donor class, okay?
The boat.
And just shut him down, Jank. Get this fucking idiot out of here. Get this four-eyed freak the fuck out of here. Shut him down. Hit him up with that donor class. Hit him up with the...
And the homeowners aren't giving any money. Like, real estate developers are not the little guy, and they're not getting their way.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you picked that example, because I actually have personal experience with that through someone that works at TYT. They ran for city council. As I said earlier, it's easier for progressives to win at city council level because it's a smaller group of people and you can knock on doors, and that's what she did. So that's why sometimes the city councils are better, certainly better than the national guys, et cetera. But when her experience was when she went in, the real estate...
That's why they're better? But they do totally different things. How do you even compare those two things? Like, what?
interests were massively powerful. She fought against them. It was in the middle of LA. And eventually, they cared so much about getting her out that they started funding someone to make sure she's removed from the city council. Real estate has massive interest.
But what's the money on the other side of not building?
So, no, there is no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why real estate almost always wins.
Why would they have to spend any money at all? if nobody's spending money on the other side, why would they?
Saying, no, sometimes at the local level, real estate interests don't win. Yes, because very rarely, because it's such smaller percentage of people voting, you can get progressives in there that block that because they're not representing the donor interests. But even in places like LA, they eventually get overwhelmed by the money that real estate guys bring in. And I literally have personal experience with what happened in LA. In that
I want to move to media. Don't you think, especially with alternative media, people create...
Like, find us a city where, Jen should find a city where that is, and we could probably out fundraise whatever I spend on some city council in some population 100,000 or less city. I bet we could fundraise more on the other side than whatever the developers would be willing to spend in advertising. I'm sure we could raise 7 figures out if we really wanted to, and I'm sure that would massively dwarf. What do they spend on the? I think it's getting more expensive. Like on your average congressional race, it's probably like $3, $4, $5 million for the federal Congress. The state legislature seats are going to be much cheaper, and then the city council seats are going to be way cheaper. Like, does he think that like the average city council race has like hundreds of millions of dollars spent in it on advertisements?
Creators like chase the audience and they try to be as outrageous as possible to because I don't know, outrage sells and audience capture is a huge thing. So they're running around chasing audiences. It's not money coming up top down. It's like bottom up. People are angry, want dissent, disagreement.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that, brother. So there's a giant distinction between mainstream media and now online and independent media. So as I said earlier, online and independent media has at least got people thinking. It's a wide range of opinions, and I greatly prefer it. Mainstream media does not care, and it doesn't do the thing you're talking about. What it does is it says, no, Joe Manchin is a moderate, Mitch McConnell oftentimes is considered a moderate, et cetera. That's nonsense.
You think alternative...
By who? Wait, did I mishear him? Did he just say Mitch McConnell is considered a moderate in Cenk's world?
At least got people thinking. It's a wide range of opinions, and I greatly prefer it. Mainstream media does not care, and it doesn't do the thing you're talking about. What it does is it says, no, Joe Manchin is a moderate, Mitch McConnell oftentimes is considered a moderate, et cetera. That's nonsense. They do nothing but lies to get you to vote for corporate politicians on the Democratic and
you think alternative media is helping our politics? You think it generates better
media is much, much better than mainstream media. Mainstream media says, no.
So then just say yes.
I'm sorry that I keep going back to it because it's such an obvious and stark case.
Don't
big family leave the 16% they call moderates, like Manchin and the Republicans that block it. The 84% that want it, they go, oh, radicals. No, progressives like Bernie Sanders are radicals. But they're total giant liars.
Who's still watching CNN to get their political opinions?
A lot of people, older voters, over 70-year-olds.
But you're not acknowledging the whole, there's so many people not paying attention to those channels anymore.
And that's a great thing. That's why after the Trump election, I said, at least we're out of the establishment prison.
But it's not
we're in the populist woods, and there are things that go bump in those woods. I know, not everybody, you're not going to get all the hosts you want. You're not going to get all the opinions you want. You're not even going to get truth all the time. In fact, most of the time, you're not even going to get truth from the right and sometimes even from the left. Okay, but what you're going to get is a wide range of opinions, and at least you get to make that decision instead of mainstream media shoving it down your throat. All right, thank you, brother.
Jesus.
Glad I got to come back up.
All right, great.
So you made an interesting claim. It's very hard to disagree with media and money control all of politics. It's more so who controls the money. When President John Kennedy passed Executive Order number 11110, which began the process of abolishing the Federal Reserve, which we know is a private institution, he was mysteriously assassinated a couple months after that. So the question is that the money powers of the world, they have a monopoly over the things that we use to transmit and receive information. So my question to you is, how exactly do you combat such a machine that has been in existence since mankind has been on the planet?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned 1938 to 78, because when you make it illegal, it's much, much harder to do the bribes. It's not that people don't get bribed, they do, but it's more rare, right? But in 76 and 78, the Supreme Court had two decisions that basically said corporations are people and they have a right to spend unlimited money on politics. When they did that, one of the dissenting justices, Justice White, said, you just killed our democracy. And that's exactly what happened. Now, theoretically, you could overturn the Supreme Court, but you're not going to overturn the Supreme Court that is massively pro-corporate. That's why I'm saying you need to do an amendment to go above the Supreme Court, but you can. And that's why I started Wolfpack. If you get money out of politics, if you say in the Constitution in a way that the Supreme Court cannot overrule, these people cannot buy our politicians, that is the answer. We can get back to a time where we created great growth in this country, and most of the earnings went to the middle class. Do you know that after those Supreme Court decisions, productivity still skyrocketed, but wages flatlined? And the difference was $12 trillion that they stole from the average American, went to corporate executives instead of going to the average guy.
That sounds fantastic. I'm not disagreeing with it. What I'm asking you is, you are talking about fundamentally restructuring the entire political system, which will require, frankly, Thomas Jefferson said once that the tree of liberty has to be watered from time to time with the blood of tyrants and patriots. Money has obviously integrated itself into the Supreme Court, into the Congress House, into the White House even. With all the money President Trump did lose in the election because he lost to quote him and lost billions of dollars. But he was donating billions of dollars. If we don't have, right now, do you have a populist candidate that we as the people should be supporting? Who's the candidate?
So we're going to see that through the system, the primaries, et cetera, but Jon Stewart's amazing, Ro Khanna's amazing.
And how much money have they gotten from corporate donors?
So
Jon Stewart and Ro Khanna.
Ro Khanna does not take any money from corporate donors. If you're going to be in Rebellion PAC, you're not allowed to take corporate PAC money. So there's a way to do it that way, get enough of the legislators that are honest. And by the way, there's some Republicans who are now not taking corporate PAC money. Thomas Massey, Josh Hawley. So that's the road to redemption, et cetera. But an amendment fixes the entire system.
But the question then goes back to, in order to get an amendment, that requires a 2/3 majority in both houses of Congress, correct?
No, you can actually go around Congress. 2/3 of the states can propose a convention to just propose an amendment, and then 3/4 of the states have to ratify.
Which requires
I don't even know what the process is like for that, but okay.
Legislature to take action, right? So how do you get legislators that already...
But 3/4 of states? How, bro, do you know, aren't the majority of states Republican? I know for the January 6th, 26 of them were.
They are slaves to the corporate donors because the book that I believe in says money, the love of money is the root of all evil, and I think that's absolutely true. A lot of these brothers love money. A lot of sisters love money. So how you then work, because what this actually is more of a moral issue. So how you then re-establish.
Oh, but I forgot. Cenk believes that Republicans and Democrats are the same anyway, so it doesn't matter because everybody secretly wants his agenda. My bad.
Morality within the hearts of politicians who have already demonstrated they've been bought by this thing called the U.S. dollar. Because that's what this is.
Yeah, two ways to do that, brother. So number one, what Wolfpack does is it pressures state legislatures. The Republican guy or conservative guy I was talking to earlier, remember we said when you get to the lower and local levels, it gets better and better. The national level is the worst because that involves the most amount of money. So state legislatures you can move. In fact, Jamie Raskin was.
Wait, I thought he said at the national level, though, it's also kind of different because it might involve the most amount of money, but it also has the most amount of free press, which isn't money, but also is massively influential. Or
opposed our legislation when he was a state representative in Maryland, and then we talked to him and we convinced him, and he said, "You guys are right. Now I'm going to support the constitutional amendment." So you do get some really good people at the state level. So that's a much better path because they have less money. But even so, brother, there's a bigger right.
Just a quick question. State is fantastic, but we need changes that impact all Americans to take place at the national level. So it's fine for you to focus on state. I understand that the lower ranking elected official is the easier it is probably to change them. How do you change the person that's sitting currently at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue or the 9 Supreme Court justices that are currently on Capitol Hill?
So that's the great thing about the Wolfpack line. It doesn't require the president at all, and it goes above the Supreme Court. So it doesn't require Congress, the president, or the Supreme Court. It's a total end run of the American people against Washington D.C. And by the way, that's why the founding fathers put it in there to make sure that if Washington got too corrupt, you can actually call for conventions at the state level and get it done. And how do you do that on a national scale? You need one incredible leader to, instead of worrying about himself, to worry about the American people. If anyone who gets money out of politics is going to have statues built of them all across the country. You need one brave and honest person to say, yes, I'm going to fight for all of you guys, and I'm going to put a world of pressure, yes, on politicians in my own party, to get this done.
So based on that, what does that ideal politician look like? Because we haven't seen it. Trump ran, he said, we're going to drain this swamp. He has drained the swamp. We're still waiting on the release of the
Bernie Sanders.
We're still waiting on the full unredacted release of MLK. We're still waiting on the unredacted release of JFK. What does that actual candidate look like? Because all this rhetoric is fantastic. I got to tell you.
So in our lifetime, because of overwhelming money in politics, we haven't seen an ideal candidate like that, is what you're saying. Right. And I largely agree, except Bernie Sanders is super honest.
He doesn't have it.
So look, my problem with Bernie is that he didn't have to fight. Like, I love the brother, but he should have fought Hillary harder. He should have fought Biden harder. And you need strength to be able to win, right? So, but remember, FDR did it. JFK did it.
FDR did it. FDR did what? What did FDR do besides steal Americans' wealth?
No.
What did he do?
He did Social Security.
Oh my God. FDR stole the last real wealth we had. He stole when he forced Americans to turn and go to the treasury to $20 an ounce.
No, it's totally possible. You've got to believe and you've got to have hope.
No, I do believe it.
This is the guy debated the America thing that only talks about the Federal Reserve or whatever.
Just a really quick point. You're talking to somebody that's going to run for president in 15 years. Okay, I've already started this. I'm running for Congress in 2030. So it's not that I don't believe, but what I'm asking is, you're talking about the fundamental moral restructuring of America. Right now, 2025, there is no politician on Capitol Hill in the White House that has the sort of fire that you're describing. And what you're saying is again, it's great rhetoric. But if we don't even know what that ideal candidate looks like.
So the reason I mentioned somebody like Jon Stewart is you can't know ahead of time who the ideal candidate is. Okay. They got to come through the primary and win, right? But the reason I mention him is because he can get past the Praetorian Guard of the mainstream media because he's a celebrity. So that gets him to the Trump land where they cover him because, oh my God, he's famous, right? Okay. So that allows him to get past the media, get past money in politics. And if one person like that, whether it's him or someone else, then raise their hand and goes, hey, I want the 90% of Americans that want to get money out of politics, and you elect me, and I'm going to fight like hell, and I'm going to make sure that we end this problem, this scourge of money in politics. He will be
That's what we need, Jon Stewart. Thank God.
Popular, he will win. He can execute that, and we can get the amendment. We've gotten so many amendments. They are definitely possible. They want you to give up hope. Don't give up hope. Wolfpack has a plan to do that. Rebellion Pack has a plan to elect a president that can do that. Let's go execute those. Let's go fight for populism and win.
I got a lot more to say. That was great.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Very good.
He will now choose a participant to debate for 10 minutes on a claim of their choosing. Maybe the guy that he just chose because he got to talk about Wolfpack so much. And Rebellion Pack.
Okay. I'm torn on this because there's a couple people who didn't talk, but everybody made good points and was certainly sufficiently aggressive. But Oliver, was it? Yeah, you made good points and you didn't come up a second time, so I'll go with you. Yeah, no
Look forward to this opportunity. So my general claim is that Cenk Uygur's populism failed because it treats social issues as a distraction rather than essential to achieving economic justice. So kind of my claim here is that there are a lot of social issues that are really important and also really popular with American people, as you're talking about, with a lot of economic issues that are just as popular. If we look at something like the public opinion regarding Roe v. Wade, like 70% of Americans are against that, the overturning of that. And I think also what's important in this conversation is to say that the line between social and economic issues is not like very clear cut. If we look at something like abortion and reproductive rights, it is the case that if someone gives birth in this country, a woman gives birth, it's upwards of $18,000, which is a huge economic hit to her. And the Turnaway study found that when women get abortions, or if they're actually denied abortions, they follow up with them about 5 years later, they're 4 times as likely to either remain or have fallen below the federal poverty line. So I think just in general, I'm with you on the claim that we should focus on issues that Americans largely agree about. I just kind of have an issue with, I saw a recent appearance of yours that, culture war issues as it's framed just totally divide. I think there's a bit of a grain of truth to that, and we should focus on what unites us, but there are some cultural issues that really do unite us, even if that's not immediately clear in our media landscape.
Yeah, so let me agree and disagree in parts. So first of all, if you say, hey, here's a social issue that polls at 70%, should we lean into it? Of course. Okay. I'm saying don't lean into the social issues where we're in a great disadvantage. Okay, so this is simple logic and strategy. So for example,
what is this Wolfpack? The amount of money that they spend in elections? Total spent 234. Is this in millions or is this just or thousands? I spent more money fighting Pixie than these guys spent on the 2024 election. Bro.
example, Trump again did the travel ban. Originally, it was a Muslim ban. You remember that's what he promised on the campaign trail in 2016. And so he's done some variation of that. Would I tell Democrats, because it affects me and it affects vulnerable communities, you should focus on that first? No, do not focus on that first. Focus on the things that unite us first. And then you come in and you pass a public option or a paid family leave or higher wages. What you do is you earn credibility with the average American. And they go, okay, now I'm willing to listen. You delivered for me. I now have higher wages or lower drug prices. So what were you saying about the Muslim ban, or what were you saying about transports, or whatever issues that we care about and need people protected on?
Yeah, and I'm really sympathetic to a lot of that. I guess my major issue is a lot of the political revolutions that we see are founded on social issues. So let's take a look at something like the Civil Rights Movement, which was followed up by the Voting Rights Act and other things like that that drastically improved.
Distractions and black people, no one cares. Get him.
people's economic standing because they were able to participate in the labor force without discrimination, we see that they go hand in hand. So I guess I'm just wondering, if we're fighting for women to have reproductive autonomy, which allows them to be full participants in the labor force and not be hamstrung by the fact that they're being forced to carry a pregnancy against their will, it seems like that will actually allow women to be more economically productive and contribute to our economy in ways that benefit all of us and are popular. So, can we walk and chew gum at the same time? Like, as you talked about, like, let's do both, right?
Yeah, I literally said that earlier as you just referenced. And so, brother, you're not wrong that they're intertwined, oftentimes, right? So, for example, while they were doing the civil rights campaign, one of the things they were pushing forward was something called a freedom budget, which Nina Turner's trying to bring back now. And so, if you notice, by the way, Martin Luther King Jr. got assassinated once he started doing the poor people's campaign, right? When he got into issues of class. And Fred Hampton got assassinated when he...
Yes. One of the big things that people don't remember is during the era of civil rights, most of the racism in this country was basically gone. One of the reasons why I say that like Jim Crow wasn't comparable to apartheid is because basically all the racism in the United States was gone. I would say around like 60, probably even earlier, like 58, 59. Basically the country wasn't racist anymore, but the clash was still animating people a ton. People don't remember that, but when the Ruby girl, what was the one who was being walked into school? The reason why people were so pissed is because she had, I don't remember what it was. Oh, because she could only afford Adidas. She couldn't afford the really nice Nikes. And so people were so mad at her coming to school. It was a class thing. People don't realize that. But Cenk is absolutely right to point this out here, that class stuff was the thing that was animating America and dividing us so much in the 50s and 60s. And we were basically over the racial divides at that point.
Jr. got assassinated once he started doing the poor people's campaign, right? When he got into issues of class. And Fred Hampton got assassinated when he tried to bring the different groups together, when he tried to unite the country, unite different races and different economic classes. So what really puts the powerful back on their heels, what they're really worried about, is if we all unite. That's why I'm trying to tell all you guys here, please let go of the Republican politicians and the Democratic politicians that have been driving us apart. So if they use social issues to bring us back together, great. But they almost always use the social issues to divide us so that we're so at loggerheads that we don't go, hey, maybe we should raise our wages.
I think it depends on the issue, and I think you can definitely speak to both things. I guess I'm just wondering that if we use that type of reasoning, what would be your advice during around the civil rights movement? Because, for example, racial integration was very unpopular before the Civil Rights Act was passed and the Brown v. Board of Education decision. Would you say that politicians don't lean into it? It's too controversial. You're going to alienate people. Just focus on economic issues. And if they did that, where would we be today?
Yeah, you're right. There has to be a moral exception from time to time. So then the question
This is one of the huge things. I think this is a lesson learned in 2022. I remember reading a report on this. One of the biggest myths that for some reason people who work in politics even still believe this sometimes, they have to be brutally reminded, is this idea of Americans don't care about social stuff. They just want kitchen tabletop issues or whatever fuck. That is absolutely not true. There are some social issues that like highly animate Americans and can show a propensity to vote in certain directions. My parents would be an example of like single issue voters on things like abortion. And issues like that.
Wait, is it a giant moral exception, or is it a relatively small issue on a hill we're choosing to die on? So let me give you the distinction.
Okay.
So gay marriage, I thought, was a core constitutional right. So even when it was very unpopular, I fought for it. And we fought and fought and fought until we won, and we convinced the majority of the American people. And only after we convinced the majority did we convince Democratic politicians like Obama and Biden to move. If we had just gone...
Only after we could... I thought Biden staked a pretty unpopular position on that before Obama did. I don't know why he said Obama and Biden was convinced by Cenk, but okay, thanks.
After the politicians, we would not have succeeded in the beginning. Okay, so now when you get to trans women have the right, or they must be allowed to go into sports leagues like the WNBA, we're not at a core constitutional issue.
And I'm not even addressing that issue. I'm talking directly, because you talk about a moral issue. And I think abortion is a moral issue, and everyone in this circle will agree with that.
We're not at a core. Trans women have the right, or after the politicians, we would not have succeeded in the beginning. Okay, so now when you get to trans women have the right, or they must be allowed to go into sports leagues like the WNBA, we're not at a core constitutional issue.
And I'm not even addressing that issue. I'm talking directly, because you talk about a moral issue. And I think abortion is a moral issue, and everyone in this circle will agree with that, regardless of which side they fall on it. And I think that women...
we fight super aggressively on the other side.
So I guess just then I'm worried that when your messaging is so much cultural issues distract, cultural issues divide, what it sounds like to me is women's bodily autonomy isn't a core moral issue that is worth fighting for in the same way that gay marriage is to you. That's what it sounds like.
No, I love,
correct the record.
No, I love that you're clarifying. No, that's a core constitutional right. That's your liberty that's being taken away. You want to talk about cancel culture? You know, that's when you say, hey, you don't have the right to control your own body. We're canceling that right. We're taking that freedom away from you. Look, when you look at transgender issues, for example, so should they be allowed to serve in the military? And I know a lot of right wing will disagree with me, but yes, that's a core constitutional issue. Yes, they should have the same rights. But I don't have a right to play in the NBA. They don't have a right to play in the WNBA. That's not a constitutional right. My problem is sometimes the extreme left, they say, okay, no, you should do the maximalist approach, and that is the better strategy.
We're gonna die on that hill,
yeah, and I'm saying don't die on that hill. And I'll give you an example again from my own community. I'm desperate to get the Palestinians peace. I'm desperate to get Israel to stop the genocide and attacking, etc. So they do a protest in Washington, D.C. They burn the American flag and write Hamas on a statue. No, don't do that.
I'm agree with you.
Right? Because if you burn the American flag, you're saying you want to drive Americans away from me. No, invite Americans. Bring American flags to that protest.
Could not agree more.
Was this Cenk's rhetoric? I don't remember at the time. I'll have to go back and check, but okay.
I think then I just don't see then how that comes back to the claim that culture wars kind of divide us. And if they do,
Brother,
does that mean
did you not see the trans issue divide the hell out of us?
100%. You are using one issue to describe all of the culture.
But then you got DEI.
Okay, well, we can talk about that. But I mean, you would then have to specify and be a bit more clear. Because look, I understand that we're on YouTube and the goal is to get clicks. And when you make kind of very like absolute statements, like all Democrats and Republicans are the same.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what I'm saying, and I probably agree a lot with you on a lot of stuff. I think that when you sideline social issues and make it seem like social issues are secondary, to me, like I think that there are some things that shouldn't be secondary.
All I'm trying to get people to realize is that, first of all, in my opinion, the right wing is the one that brings up all these issues. They went looking for a fight on critical race theory. Yep. They went looking for a fight on DEI. They went looking for a fight on transport. Yep. When they get you in a situation where they've got you on an unpopular policy, stop falling into that trap and that ambush.
And I agree with you. I definitely agree with you in part. I think the problem as well with how the prompt is framed is it treats right-wing fake culture war issues that they make up with real, actual issues like women's bodily autonomy. So like I think we're just
your distinction is no problem at all. Okay. It's just what I've lived in the real world is that when I say, hey, maybe we shouldn't go maximalist on every issue, all the other left-wing hosts attack me and go, you're not pure enough. I'm going to get more clicks than you by being even more pure.
And I'm the first.
Okay.
Person to stand and agree with you that maximalism might not be the correct solution, often isn't. I just think, and as we're winding down, it's just really important to not neglect social issues such as women's access to their own bodies, such as LGBTQ rights. Okay, good. Then I guess then asking you moving forward, maybe make an emphasis that your populism doesn't neglect the very groups that you claim to want to fight for.
You got a deal.
Awesome. Right. Thank you so much.
First of all, 20 against 1, I was born for it.
I'm a populist like Jake, and I was familiar with the Young Turks. His debate style was very, very good. I think he gave both the opposing speaker and himself ample opportunity to have an actual conversation, which is a rarity on a show like this, I have to say.
I've seen Cenk move a little bit. You know, the 2018 Cenk of Justice Democrats did really focus on these issues like he was sitting here today doing. And I would love to see a return of that Cenk.
I think in my conversation, he kind of dodged a little bit. I would have loved to have a little bit more of an open discussion on kind of how he aims to reconcile racial differences in this country.
I don't want him to lean away from social issues and not put emphasis on them because they're hard. Shying away from it because it might lose you some people isn't the way that progress is made.
In a lot of online debates, people are really playing to the audience at home. They're not really trying to convince the person they're talking to reconsider their assumptions. And Oliver was able to successfully get Cenk to realize, no, actually, social issues are important.
Z did absolutely amazing. I'm actually a follower of hers on TikTok, and I've seen a lot of her content. And we do disagree. We're on completely opposite sides of the political spectrum, but she spoke with clarity. She spoke concise points. She made Jay backtrack us a little bit, which is always fun to watch, especially again in a show like this.
So one of the people who was right-wing said it to me at the end, after we wrapped, he said, I was really surprised on how much we all agreed on. Exactly. But you got to get past the media, the money in politics.
And the donor class. Oh, he said money in politics. Say donor class anyway.
And the politicians to get to the places where